Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. The 2026 World Cup, jointly hosted by the United States, Mexico, and Canada, will feature a record 48 teams. And soon, President Trump will meet the FIFA World Cup 2026 task force at the White House. We're going to bring it to you live. President Trump is changing direction on the Epstein records, telling Republicans to vote for their release as lawmakers prepare for a high-profile showdown. The Supreme Court today will look at an immigration policy in place during Trump's first administration. The policy was since canceled under Biden and has yet to resume. President Trump rolled back tariffs on more than 200 food products. What will be the impact of this? We discussed with an economist. A Trump-Mamdani meeting could be in the works as the pair signal a willingness to get things done for New York. And Trump defends Tucker Carlson over a recent interview. The FAA has ended its shutdown, triggering flight reductions. What officials are saying as airports slowly get back to normal.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Thank you for joining us. President Trump is shifting his position on the push to release files related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The president is now urging Republicans to vote in favor of the resolution when it reaches the House floor this week. Trump previously opposed the Democrat-led petition discharge. It gained enough signatures after Congresswoman Aldilita Grijalva of Arizona was sworn in, triggering a vote on releasing the documents. Several Republicans, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, Thomas Massie, and Lauren Robert, have signed on. Others, such as Congressman Don Bacon, say they will support the measure. House Speaker Mike Johnson has signaled that the vote will proceed. Trump says Republicans have nothing to hide. He also directed the Justice Department to investigate Epstein's ties to former President Bill Clinton and other public figures. An update on the case against former FBI Director James Comey. A federal judge has ordered the Justice Department to turn over documents from the grand jury indictment. In his ruling, Judge William Fitzpatrick says the department engaged in a disturbing pattern of investigative missteps when it secured an indictment against the former FBI chief. He says the so-called missteps could potentially undermine the integrity of the grand jury proceeding, and he's asked the DOJ to provide all grand jury documents to Comey's defense team. Comey is also challenging the case against him by claiming Lindsay Halligan, the prosecutor who brought those indictments against him, was not properly appointed. A hearing regarding whether to dismiss the case is scheduled for Wednesday. NTD has reached out to the Justice Department for a response. The BBC says it's determined to fight any legal action filed by President Trump. Trump said he was likely to sue the British broadcaster this week for splicing together excerpts of his January 6, 2021 speech when the Capitol was breached. Trump said he would sue for up to $5 billion. BBC Chair Samir Shah apologized to Trump in a letter last week, and today Shah warned staff in an email about the possibility of legal action, but also maintained that the BBC's position has not changed, that there is no basis for a defamation case and is determined to fight. Thanksgiving is in 10 days and travelers already have a reason to be thankful. The FAA this morning ended its flight reduction order, allowing normal air traffic to resume. Here's more.
I think we're going to have a smooth, hopefully, Thanksgiving travel season.
Airlines are resuming their normal schedules in the U.S. today. The FAA says it's lifting flight restrictions that affected 40 major airports during the government shutdown. A joint statement from that agency and the Transportation Secretary cites, quote, safety trends and the steady decline of staffing trigger events in air traffic control facilities.
It does appear that air traffic controllers are working. The call-outs are minimal, and they're all getting bonuses now if they came to work. So I think the morale there is up, as well as the TSA.
Union leaders say it was hard for air traffic controllers to work full-time without pay during the shutdown.
The stresses, the pressure, the fatigue is setting in. Air traffic controllers are texting, I don't even have enough money to put gas in my car to come to work.
The news might be a relief for people flying over Thanksgiving weekend. That's the busiest air travel period of the year, according to TSA data. Experts say passengers should still check airline apps for delays or cancellations, but for more typical reasons.
I think the things we should be looking out for are weather-related incidents that could kind of throw the system out of whack or outages. But overall, I think things are looking good.
This year, roads and airports during the Thanksgiving holiday period are expected to be busier than ever. AAA predicts nearly 82 million people will travel at least 50 miles from home during the period that runs from the Tuesday before Thanksgiving to Monday, December 1st. That's 1.6 million more travelers compared to last Thanksgiving, and a new record. AAA projects the majority of people, at least 73 million, will travel by car. 6 million U.S. travelers are expected to take domestic flights over the Thanksgiving holiday period, a slight increase from last year. Florida is the most popular domestic destination because of its weather, theme parks, and cruise ports. SNAP benefits are now operating under updated federal rules. This follows a delay caused by the recent government shutdown. Beneficiaries must meet new work and citizenship requirements to continue receiving food assistance. Eligibility is now limited to U.S. citizens, nationals, lawful permanent residents, Cuban and Haitian entrants, and citizens from the Marshall Islands, Micronesia, and Palau. Refugees, individuals granted asylum, certain Afghan and Ukrainian nationals, and others who were previously eligible no longer qualify. The law also expands work requirements. Able-bodied adults without dependents must work, volunteer, or take part in training for at least 20 hours a week or 80 hours a month to maintain benefits. President Trump is pushing to let his tariffs directly benefit Americans with $2,000 rebate checks. Lawmakers may need to pass a new law to make it possible. NTD's Melina Weisskopf reports.
President Trump is eyeing ways to allow Americans to directly feel the benefits of his tariffs. He aims to pave the way for sending $2,000 checks to middle and low-income families sometime next year.
It's a lot of money, but we've taken in a lot of money from tariffs. The tariffs allow us to give a dividend if we want to do that. Now we're going to do a dividend, and we're also going to be reducing debt.
The idea would need approval from Congress to take effect. Some conservative Republicans expressing openness to the idea.
Being able to show the results to the American people, allowing them to keep more of their hard-earned money, I certainly hope that that's something that Congress takes a look at.
Others have expressed skepticism. When asked in a radio interview, House Speaker Mike Johnson said the federal debt should be paid down first. The White House's Economic Council director said the math works.
If you look at how much tariff revenue has been coming in, then there would actually be enough room to cover those checks and not go into the rest of the budget. Yeah.
Senator Josh Hawley previously introduced a bill to give $600 tariff rebates to Americans and their dependent children. The idea comes as the Supreme Court is weighing a lawsuit that challenges Trump's authority to impose tariffs. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett said there have been mixed signals in the job market and that the labor market could be slowing down, but he's also seeing some positive signs, speaking on CNBC.
Purchasing power has gone up. So real wages, that's W divided by P for our technical people in the audience, have gone up by about $1,200 this year. So the way to think about it is that we've dug a $3,000 hole because of Biden policies, and we've gained $1,200 on the way out already, which should give you a great deal of hope for the future that the wage increases that we're seeing will continue, and even if inflation stays positive, make it so that people feel way better when they go to the grocery store and to buy a car.
Economists say a weakening labor market could prompt the Federal Reserve to gain lower interest rates again by 25 points next month. Hassett said people are incorrectly blaming President Trump for the current inflation that was inherited from the Biden administration. He says the Trump administration hasn't totally fixed it yet, but that many different measures are already underway. Hassett also said that higher purchasing power will make things more affordable despite lingering higher prices. From clearing the huge backlog of shutdown-delayed U.S. data to new inflation data out of Japan and Europe, these are the stories to watch for in business and finance this week.
U.S. government workers begin the task of shoveling out the backlog of data not released during the 43-day shutdown. Traders could get the September numbers in the coming days. Private data that has been published has suggested the labor market continues to weaken. That supports the case for a December Federal Reserve rate cut. Officials are warning, though, that some data may have been lost forever. NVIDIA's quarterly report on Wednesday will be a critical test for the AI trade. The semiconductor giant became the world's first $5 trillion company last month. Its valuation has edged down a bit since then, but it still has enough clout to easily sway markets on its own. The AI bellwether's forecasts and the broader industry perspective will have ramifications for the wider tech ecosystem. It is going to either ease or feed those nagging investor concerns that this is already the next big bubble. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi is urging the Bank of Japan to go slow on raising rates, while new Finance Minister Satsuki Katayama has argued that inflation still hasn't sustainably hit the BOJ's 2% target. The bank still looks primed for a hike in December, although Governor Kazuo Ueda has been cautious about pulling the trigger. Consumer price data due on Friday should offer clues. European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde says it is in a good place, with markets pricing in no interest rate moves at all next year. The week brings a raft of October inflation numbers for both individual countries and the Eurozone as a whole. Core consumer inflation has stayed around the ECB's 2% target for most of the year. But if the euro's rise starts to drag it lower at any point, Frankfurt would have room to cut again.
Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman will visit the White House tomorrow for talks with President Trump. The pair will discuss energy, defense, tech, and potentially nuclear energy. The president seeks to cash in on a $600 billion investment pledge from the Saudis made during Trump's visit to the Middle East earlier this year. The Supreme Court today will look at an immigration policy in place during Trump's first administration. The policy was since canceled under Biden and has yet to resume. We'll have more news after this break.
Don't wait. Call now to find out about our Medicare plan.
Why do we have to sit through so many Medicare commercials this time of year? It's endless.
Good question, Edith. I'm glad you asked. We see so many commercials this time of year because it's the only time, other than special circumstances, when Medicare recipients can change their plan for Part C. Original Medicare only covers Parts A and B, but a Medicare Advantage plan has additional benefits that Original Medicare doesn't offer.
So now's the time to fill those spaces?
That's right, Archie. And every year, there are changes to what benefits you may receive from your Part C plan. Call right now to find out what plan best suits your needs.
It's easy, easy, don't delay. Pick up the phone and call today.
Call now for your free Medicare review.
1-833-469-1754. 1-833-469-1754.
You may now return to your regularly scheduled programming.
If joint pain from aging is slowing you down, Omega XL can help you get back in the saddle, just like it did for John Walsh.
Today I'm here at my ranch exercising some of my polo ponies. Got to be really fit to ride these horses. So as you get older, it gets tougher. I was starting to suffer some of that business, and then I ran into somebody who said, look, you should try Omega XL, and look what it's done. I feel better than I felt in the last 30 years.
I'm Reve Walsh. I'm John Walsh's wife. I ride fox hunters, and sometimes I'm in the saddle for 3-5 hours at a time. A lot of work out here.
I wouldn't have been able to do this. Muck a stall, throw hay, do all the things that needs to be done on a ranch a couple years ago. But Omega XL gave me the ability to get back in the saddle. It works great.
Once you try it, you don't want to be without it. It makes a huge difference.
It does. Take it every single day, and you know, there's a benefit. It's made you a lot nicer to me.
If you've been living with pain, it's time to get this special offer, the Omega XL, the joint health supplement that millions have trusted for more than 20 years. Omega XL, it's sourced from the green-lipped mussel, exclusively found in the pristine waters of New Zealand, some of the cleanest waters on Earth. Omega XL, it's natural, drug-free, and it's backed by more than 40 years of clinical research that show it really works. Try Omega XL today. Pick up your phone and call the number at the bottom of your screen right now for a special offer. Buy one, get two free. 2 bottles of Omega XL plus Vitamin XL D3, a value of more than $100. But call today and you pay only $39.95. That's a savings of more than 60%. Plus, it's backed by our 60-day money-back guarantee.
Try it. You got nothing to lose.
Call or go online right now to get this special offer. 2 bottles of Omega XL plus Vitamin XL D3 for only $39.95. Call now.
The Supreme Court says it will review the mediating border policy from the first Trump administration that was canceled under former President Biden. The policy limited the amount of undocumented migrants processed at border ports of entry. The Biden administration instead put in place a process of favoring migrant processing. A memo shows administration officials asking efforts be made so migrants aren't turned away at ports of entry. Even though the policy, the Trump policy that is no longer in place, the case to rescind it is still being pushed by immigration advocacy organization Alto Lado. The Trump administration is challenging Alto Lado because the case result does not restrict future immigration policy. Dozens of children have been saved as part of an FBI partnership called Operation Home for the Holidays. FBI Jacksonville announced that 122 children were located or recovered across Florida and 9 other states. They range from about 2 years old to 17 years old. FBI Director Kash Patel confirmed the rescues on his X account as well. The FBI says some of these kids said they were experiencing various kinds of abuse and were exposed to other criminal activity. Operation Home for the Holidays was a U.S. Marshal-led initiative. Dozens are arrested in North Carolina. Agents took more than 80 illegal immigrants into custody in Charlotte on the first day of border enforcement operations. NTD's Daniel Monahan has the details, including a harrowing incident when someone allegedly launched a van at federal agents.
The Department of Homeland Security announced Saturday it was launching Operation Charlotte's Web, sending a surge of law enforcement resources to the city. DHS released a list of what it called the worst criminal illegal immigrants who it said had been released back onto North Carolina's streets because of sanctuary policies. Gregory Bavino, Commander-at-Large of the U.S. Border Patrol, documented several of the arrests on social media yesterday, which he said had risen to 81. Bavino quoted from the book Charlotte's Web when posting about the operation, writing, "Wherever the wind takes us, high, low, near, far, east, west, north, south, we take to the breeze, we go as we please." Bavino shared a video of arrests along with the post. Bavino also shared posts including pictures of some of the people the Trump administration had detained in Charlotte. One man who was arrested yesterday had an alleged history of repeated drunk driving incidents. Bavino wrote, "We arrested him, taking him off the streets of Charlotte, so he can't continue to ignore our laws and drive intoxicated on the same roads you and your loved ones are on." Another had charges for alleged hit and run and DUI. Yet another with a criminal history of arrests for aggravated assault, assault with a dangerous weapon, and DUI. In a separate incident, Homeland Security released a video of a U.S. citizen allegedly using a large van as a weapon, driving it at agents during an operation. Officials say he fled, prompting a dangerous high-speed chase through a densely populated area, and that he repeatedly tried to ram law enforcement vehicles before being boxed in. Agents say they found a firearm inside the vehicle after arresting the driver. DHS also pushed back on claims that a Hispanic man had been shot during another enforcement action. Assistant Homeland Security Secretary Tricia McLaughlin posted a video of the man on a stretcher and said he had suffered a panic attack, was taken to a hospital, and then attempted to escape by climbing into ceiling tiles before being apprehended. Republican Congressman Mark Harris welcomed the federal surge, speaking on News Nation.
I think people recognize it's welcome. It will help bring crime down. There had been a surge of 200% of murders in uptown Charlotte specifically.
Harris warned that the stakes are high in Charlotte.
These are serious criminal illegal aliens that they are here to deal with. This is not a time to play games.
On the Democrat side, Representative Alma Adams said Charlotte's immigrant community is a proud part of the Queen City and that she will not stand by and watch her constituents be intimidated or harassed, adding that everyone deserves to be treated with dignity. Border Patrol Commander Bavino responded, writing, "Representative Adams, perhaps you should learn the difference between an illegal alien and an immigrant." The granddaughter of Charlotte's Web author E.B. White criticized the use of the book's name in the operation, saying White believed in the rule of law, due process, and didn't condone what she called fear-mongering. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams stopped in Jerusalem over the weekend as part of an official visit to Israel. Israeli President Isaac Herzog today thanked Adams for his support during the war and commended his conduct as mayor. Here's Adams.
We want to clearly send the right message that 49% of New Yorkers made it clear that they don't embrace the philosophy of anti-Israel. 49% of New Yorkers. And so our city is more divided than it has ever been. But you must know that we still consider Israel as an ally and as a friend. And I'm here today as I leave office to state I would not be leaving my advocacy for Israel and for the Jewish people all over the globe.
The outgoing mayor was shown the tunnels underneath the Western Wall where archaeological digs are taking place. Adams called off his bid for re-election in September with his approval rating at a record low. The race was won by self-declared Democratic Socialist Zoran Mamdani, who was vocal about his support in Palestinians in the Gaza conflict. A possible thaw in a recent feud. President Trump yesterday said he plans to meet with New York City's mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani. Trump says the pair will work something out.
The mayor of New York, I will say, would like to meet with us and we'll work something out. But he would like to come to Washington and meet, and we'll work something out. We want to see everything work out well for New York.
Trump has taken aim at Mamdani for months, calling him a communist. Trump predicted New York would be ruined if the Democratic Socialist was elected. He also threatened to pull federal money from the city over Mamdani's policies. In his election night victory speech, Mamdani said he wanted New York to show the country how to defeat the president. But the day after, the incoming mayor also said he was willing to work with anyone, including the president, if it could help New Yorkers. And Trump defended conservative commentator Tucker Carlson yesterday over his recent interview with right-wing activist Nick Fuentes.
We've had some great interviews with Tucker Carlson. But you can't tell him who to interview. I mean, if he wants to interview Nick Fuentes, I don't know much about him, but if he wants to do it, get the word out. Let him, people have to decide. Ultimately, people have to decide.
Fuentes appeared to appreciate Trump's sentiment, posting, "Thank you, Mr. President," along with video of his interaction with reporters. Carlson had a sit-down on his podcast last month with Fuentes that touched off a very controversy among conservatives. Fuentes has been accused of making anti-Semitic statements. It's not the first time Trump has been asked about him. 3 years ago, he came to a dinner at Mar-a-Lago along with the rapper Ye, formerly known as Kanye West. Trump at the time said he had not previously met Fuentes and knew nothing about him and didn't know he was coming with Ye. Tensions are increasing between the U.S. and Venezuela. The Trump administration is designating a Venezuelan cartel allegedly run by the country's president, a foreign terrorist organization. Here are the details.
It's about protecting America from foreign terrorists.
The Department of State has announced it will designate the Venezuelan group known as the Cartel de los Soles as a foreign terrorist organization. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the designation takes effect November 24th. The Trump administration alleges the organization is led by senior Venezuelan government figures, including President Nicolas Maduro, and involved in international cocaine smuggling. Maduro has denied these allegations. Rubio said Sunday the Cartel de los Soles is responsible for terrorist violence throughout the Western Hemisphere. The designation will expand federal authorities' ability to pursue the group. It makes it a federal crime for anyone in the U.S. to assist the cartel and allows federal officials to freeze any assets connected to it. Trump was asked yesterday if the U.S. government can target assets inside Venezuela.
It allows us to do that, but we haven't said we're going to do that. And we may be having some discussions with Maduro, and we'll see how that turns out. They would like to talk.
The move comes after the Treasury Department earlier this year labeled the cartel a specially designated global terrorist. Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent says Sunday's action further exposes the Maduro regime's facilitation of narco-terrorism. The announcement comes as U.S. forces continue a series of military strikes on vessels they say are involved in narcotics smuggling. This weekend, the military carried out its 21st such operation, bringing the total casualty count to 83 people. U.S. Southern Command said Secretary of War Pete Hegseth ordered Saturday's strike in the Eastern Pacific, which targeted a vessel linked to a designated terrorist organization. Southern Command said the boat was smuggling narcotics along a known trafficking route. The military said 3 people on board were killed. U.S. military activity against suspected drug traffickers has expanded across waters near Venezuela and Colombia. President Trump has come under criticism from both Democrats and Republicans for not seeking congressional approval for these strikes. He explained his decision yesterday.
I said, go to Congress and let them know we're not letting drugs come through Mexico. We're not letting them come through Venezuela. And let Congress know about it. We don't have to get their approval, but I think letting them know is good.
Senator Rand Paul and Congressman Thomas Massie, both Republicans, have described the strikes as an overreach of executive authority. Paul has described them as summary executions and extrajudicial killings. The Department of Justice has stated that military personnel involved in the strikes are not liable for prosecution.
We're turning now to an alleged gambling scheme in pro basketball. There are reports that the NBA has asked the Los Angeles Lakers and several other teams to turn over documents as part of its expanding investigation into illegal gambling. According to ESPN, league investigators have already collected phones from at least a dozen Lakers employees, including 2 staff members with close ties to LeBron James. The NBA says the requests are standard procedure and do not imply wrongdoing. The probe follows federal indictments that shocked the league, including charges against Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, and former coach Damon Jones. Cases tied to the indictments involve the sharing of non-public injury information and rigged wagering schemes that federal prosecutors say netted hundreds of thousands of dollars. The NBA has signaled it may tighten injury reporting rules. 2 popular weight loss drugs will now cost less if you pay with cash instead of going through insurance. Novo Nordisk announced today that it's offering the first 2 monthly doses of Wegovy and Ozempic for $199. The discount applies to the lowest doses of the medications and expires at the end of March. Additional refills will drop to $349 a month from $499, also the lowest dosage. The drug maker has faced increased competition in the GLP-1 market as compounding pharmacies offer less expensive versions. It says the discounted drugs will be available at Costco, GoodRx, and Weight Watchers, as well as many retail pharmacies. Rival drug maker Eli Lilly is also lowering its prices for GLP-1 medications. Its discounted products will be available on Trump RX when it launches early next year. Veterans who lost education benefits for refusing a COVID-19 vaccine can once again have access to their GI Bill benefits. We have more after this break.
My name's Stacy, I'm 57, and I was adopted in 2020.
We were adopted in 2019.
And we were adopted in 2021.
We had a house, and it sounds crazy, but it wasn't a home. The one thing that Jake and Emma brought is it became a home.
When I met Dakota, he had just turned 14.
You weren't there for the first this and the first that. I missed the first words, but we got a lot of other firsts.
Watching her say, oh my God, I cannot believe I got my license. And she's like, I passed. And I'm like, girl.
See them grow. It is.
They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
You and you. Kids in the middle.
What I thought was a complete life was nowhere near complete, but it is now.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
My mom and dad were traditional Asian parents. Now my father would go to work before I woke up in the morning, and then he would come home too tired to play with me. I tell my son, I love you every single day. I love you. Now my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. So I teased him the other day and I said, how come you never say that to me? And he said, you're too old now. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the material things, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious minute or moment.
Say bye-bye. Bye-bye.
President Trump says Republicans are working on legislation that will impose sanctions on any country doing business with Russia.
The Republicans are putting in legislation that very tough. It's sanctioning, et cetera, on any country doing business with Russia. They may add Iran to that, as you know. I suggested it. So any country that does business with Russia will be very severely sanctioned. We may add Iran to the formula, yeah.
The Kremlin said today it hopes another meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and President Trump can take place soon. It says both sides need to complete what it calls the necessary preparation. Russia says both sides agree that a summit requires deep preparation to be productive. Putin and Trump last met in August at a summit in Alaska focused on possible steps toward ending the war in Ukraine. Plans for a follow-up summit in Budapest were announced last month. President Trump later canceled it, saying the timing didn't feel right. An explosion damaged a Polish railway track en route to Ukraine over the weekend. Prime Minister Donald Tusk today called the blast an unprecedented act of sabotage. He said he would catch those responsible for an incident he said could have ended in tragedy. The blast follows a wave of arson, sabotage, and cyber attacks that has hit Poland and other European countries since the start of the war in Ukraine. Warsaw has, in the past, held Russia responsible, saying Poland has become one of Moscow's biggest targets due to its role as a hub for aid to Kyiv. Russia has repeatedly denied being responsible for acts of sabotage. Besides the 100 fighter jets, Ukraine is also said to receive French radars and 8 air defense systems, each with 6 launching systems. Zelensky said each one of those launching systems means that more Ukrainian lives will be saved. Today marks Zelensky's 9th visit to Paris since Russia's invasion over 3 years ago. His talks were meant to strengthen Ukraine's defense as the country enters another winter under Russia's bombardment of its energy infrastructure.
Most importantly, we're setting a direction. We will together increase the industrial and technological potential of Ukraine and France. This means not only defense, this is literally the strength in life. This literally means jobs for our people, development of companies, development of communities.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is in France today signing a major weapons deal. Ukraine is set to receive 100 French fighter jets, among other things. This comes after weeks-long talks to see how France could provide more military support despite political and budgetary instability in Paris. Zelensky thanked France for its support and commented on the deal while in Paris earlier today. Japan moved today to damp down an escalating dispute with China over Taiwan. The dispute has prompted Beijing to urge civilians and citizens to halt travel to its East Asian neighbor. Here are the details.
The dispute erupted after Japan's newly elected Prime Minister, Sanai Takaichi, openly raised the possibility of a Japanese military response to a Chinese attack on Taiwan, a topic earlier administrations steered clear of to avoid provoking Beijing. Senior Japanese diplomat Masaki Kanai arrived in China on Monday to meet his counterpart Liu Jin-song in an attempt to soothe the tensions, according to Japanese media. Kanai is expected to stress that Takaichi's remarks do not mark a shift in Japan's security policy and urge China to avoid further damaging ties. Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Minoru Kihara on Monday said China's travel warning is, quote, incompatible with the broad direction of promoting a strategic, mutually beneficial relationship confirmed by the leaders. Tourism-linked Japanese shares tumbled as the diplomatic row deepened. Isitan Mitsukoshi, a department store operator with substantial ties to Chinese visitors, sank 10.7% and is poised for its biggest drop in more than a year. Tokyo Disneyland operator Oriental Land lost 5.9%, and Japan Airlines shed 4.4%. Chinese companies with exposure to the Japanese market also suffered, with shares of software maker Linkage falling 3%. Beijing's travel boycott of Japan could result in an economic loss of about $14 billion annually, reducing the nation's real GDP by 0.36%, according to Nomura Research Institute's chief economist.
President Trump's Gaza proposal faces a critical test today in the United Nations. The Security Council is scheduled to vote on a U.S.-backed resolution aimed at turning Gaza's fragile ceasefire into a longer-term peace plan. The vote comes as violence still periodically flares between Israel and Hamas. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected parts of the plan, specifically language pointing toward a future Palestinian state, while Hamas has also warned against the proposal. The draft needs 9 votes to pass, but China or Russia could veto it. The U.S. plan would launch a temporary board of peace chaired by President Trump. It would also deploy an international stabilization force to eventually replace Israeli troops in Gaza. Several Arab nations publicly supported the proposal, but Russia has introduced a competing resolution with stronger statehood language. New footage shows a U.S.-led command center in southern Israel overseeing President Trump's plan to end the Gaza war. The Civil Military Coordination Center, or CMCC, is staffed by soldiers and civilians from the U.S., Israel, and several other countries. Britain, Germany, France, Canada, Jordan, and the United Arab Emirates are among the nations also present. The center started operating last month after a ceasefire came into effect. The CMCC is tasked with monitoring the ceasefire, as well as helping to increase the delivery of aid into Gaza. The German government said it's resuming exports of military equipment to Israel. Germany is the second largest exporter of arms to Israel after the United States announced a suspension of some arms exports to Israel in August amid popular pressure over the war. The decision affected weapons and systems that could be used in Gaza, but not others deemed necessary for Israel to defend itself from external attacks. A spokesperson said the restrictions will be lifted from November 24th. Chile's presidential election is heading to a tense runoff. A right-leaning veteran politician now holds the advantage as he faces off against a member of the Chilean Communist Party representing the incumbent government. Here's an update.
Governing coalition candidate Yanet Jara held a narrow lead over rival Jose Antonio Cast in Chile's presidential election on Sunday. While Cast lagged behind with 24% of the vote versus Jara's 27%, he is still favored to clinch a runoff victory next month. Analysts expect supporters of other right-wing parties to back him in a decisive vote, and he declared victory on Sunday, despite the first-round defeat.
Today, it became clear that the opposition defeated a failed government, a government that did not know how to lead the country. The only real victory, the only victory that will make us celebrate, is when we defeat organized crime and drug trafficking. The election on December 14th is not just any election. It will be the most important election of our generation.
The candidate has previously proposed building a border wall with trenches, expelling all undocumented migrants, and deploying the military to high-crime neighborhoods. Meantime, as Hara's supporters celebrated her advance to the runoffs, she vowed to strengthen immigration controls and pursue organized crime.
The need to move toward more effective immigration control is to strengthen public safety, and that is why together we are going to strengthen the police and preventive measures. We are going to insist that Chile lift banking secrecy and follow the dirty money trail.
Hara was the former labor minister under current president Gabriel Boric. She has downplayed her Communist Party ties and proposed increasing the minimum wage while boosting funding for social welfare and healthcare. Hara has also advocated for stronger gun controls, technological surveillance on the border, and lifting banking secrecy laws to pursue organized crime groups. The December 14 runoff will pit the two ideological extremes against each other, with many voters signaling that they are prioritizing crime and immigration over progressive reforms that defined the last election. A rightward tilt would mirror recent leftist defeats across Latin America and encourage right-wing candidates in Colombia, Peru, and Brazil, where security fears also loom as a key issue.
A luxury heist today in central Rome. 3 masked men smashed a car through the glass entrance of a Louis Vuitton storage facility. Police said they stole high-end leather goods before fleeing. The alarm was triggered at around 1:30 a.m. after the thieves used the vehicle as a battering ram to break into the premises. They took a side street less monitored than the luxury shopping avenue nearby. Once inside, the group quickly grabbed bags and other merchandise. Investigators said the operation appeared carefully planned. The value of the stolen goods has not yet been determined. A Bangladesh court has sentenced its ousted prime minister to death for crimes against humanity. Here's what we've learned so far.
We have decided to inflict her with only one sentence, that is sentence of death.
A verdict of death for Bangladesh's ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina on Monday, concluding a months-long trial that found her guilty of ordering a deadly crackdown on a student-led uprising last year. Hasina was not present in court and has been living in exile in New Delhi. It's the most dramatic legal action against a former Bangladeshi leader since independence in 1971. Prosecutors had said that they had uncovered evidence of her direct command to use lethal force to suppress the student-led uprising. A United Nations report said up to 1,400 people may have been killed during the protests between July and August last year, with thousands more injured. 78-year-old Hasina was given a life sentence under charges for crimes against humanity and the death sentence for the killings. In response, Hasina said the ruling has come from a, quote, rigged tribunal presided over by an unelected government. Her defence argued that the charges were baseless and politically motivated. Bangladesh's Domestic War Crimes Court sentenced her amid tight security ahead of parliamentary elections expected in February, in which Hasina's Awami League party has been barred from contesting. Before the verdict, protesters swarmed the estate of her father's home in a standoff with police. Bangladesh has been tense ahead of the ruling. Over the past few days, there have been 30 crude bomb explosions and dozens of vehicles have been torched. Bangladesh has been governed by an interim administration, headed by a Nobel Peace Laureate since Hasina fled. Hasina's son and advisor, Sajib Wazid, told Reuters on the eve of the verdict that they would not appeal the verdict unless a democratically elected government took office with the Awami League's participation.
Thousands of veterans could have access to education benefits again. This applies to veterans who were discharged under the Biden administration for refusing COVID-19 vaccines. The Department of Veteran Affairs announced today those veterans may regain eligibility to the GI Bill. President Trump signed an executive order in January to have these benefits reinstated. There were about 8,000 service members impacted. About half were characterized as less than fully honorable. Now veterans may request a review of their discharge, and once their discharge is upgraded to fully honorable, they can submit education benefits claims to the VA. Countries around the world are gearing up for Christmas with bright, colorful lights and other festive displays. However, there are some local rules and regulations that drivers will need to follow if they want to stay off Santa's naughty list. We have more news after a break.
I trod on my glasses yesterday, and I had to pay up front for a new pair that I can't even pick up for another 10 days. So I looked for another way, and I found Select Specs. I ordered online. My new glasses just arrived this morning, and I can pay over the next few weeks. This is the way to buy glasses.
See now, pay later with Select Specs. Next day delivery and deferred payment options only at selectspecs.com.
What are toxins? How do they get into our bodies? We are constantly being exposed to toxins in our environment. I've had detox protocol programs in my clinic more than 20 years, helping countless people. MixFix is a custom formulated, full-spectrum organic detox product to achieve better health and overall function. Detoxifying your body 3 to 4 times per year may be the single most important thing you can do. Just scan the QR code and detox your body today.
Hi, I'm Susan Lucci. You may know me from my many years on television. I never thought about heart disease until I had my own heart event. I felt this slight pressure on my chest, just slight. I thought, oh, it's nothing, it'll go away. I didn't get it. I did not get it. But a few days later, while shopping at a boutique, that pressure returned, much stronger. It felt like an elephant pressing on my chest. I had a 90% blockage in my main artery and a 75% blockage in the adjacent artery. I was rushed into surgery where I received 2 stents in my arteries. Stents developed through research funded by the American Heart Association. Those stents saved my life. That's why I'm in front of you today, asking you to join me in supporting the American Heart Association by becoming a monthly donor. Call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough. Get the next person trained in CPR, the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. I'm so grateful to the American Heart Association. Their research helped save my life. I can enjoy life with my children, my grandchildren, and my friends. Heart disease is America's #1 killer, and your support now can help save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card, and we'll send you this special t-shirt that you can wear to show that you are helping save lives. Please, listen to your heart. The only reason I'm here today is because I did. So please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now. Join me as a monthly donor today and help save even more lives. Thank you.
President Trump is now holding a meeting of the FIFA World Cup 2026 task force at the White House right now. Let's take a look.
Fantastic job, as well as Representative Darren LaHood. Thank you all very much. Hi, Darren. This past summer, the United States hosted the 2025 FIFA Cup World Cup, Club World Cup, and it was great. I actually went to a match, and it was amazing. That was a big success, too, wasn't it? It was sort of like a preview of what's to come. And now we're getting ready for an even bigger event next year as we host the official 2026 FIFA World Cup. That's the big one. The World Cup tournament. This will be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, even for our country, because frankly, this goes to countries, everybody wants it. I guess it's going all over the world. Do you know who's getting it the next time around? Who's getting it? Has that been selected?
The next one will be Morocco, Spain, and Portugal.
That's good.
With 3 matches at the beginning in South America, Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay. And the one after will be Saudi Arabia in 2034.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Well, we have the king coming, Crown Prince is coming tomorrow. This will be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to showcase the greatness of American world-class athletic competition as we celebrate our nation's 250th year. The World Cup will also be an incredibly significant economic opportunity for countless American workers and businesses. It's expected to drive more than $30 billion, Johnny. I don't know about that. That sounds like a lot of money.
No, that's true.
Are you sure?
100%.
How much does the country get out of that?
30 billion.
20%? No, but do we get like a percentage of the gross or anything?
That's for negotiation.
That's right. And it's going to create nearly 200,000 jobs for America. Since the creation of the White House FIFA task force earlier this year, Secretary Rubio's team at the State Department has worked tirelessly with the Department of Homeland Security to ensure that soccer fans from all around the world are properly vetted and able to come to the United States next summer easily. Before I took office, it would often take a year to get a travel visa, but because of the administration's hard work now in more than 80% of the world, think of that, the wait time for a visa is 60 days or less. For those who intend to join us for the World Cup, I strongly encourage you to apply right away. And I want to thank FIFA Task Force and Secretary Rubio for the great job. Marco's doing a fantastic job in many ways, too. So I want to just thank you all for a great job. Marco, you're doing a great job. Beyond even this, we're also creating what we're calling the FIFA Prioritized Appointment Scheduling System. That's a hard one for most people to remember, but it's there nevertheless. And this will allow World Cup ticket holders with long wait times to opt with FIFA for a prioritized interview. And I've directed my administration to do everything within the power to make the 2026 World Cup an unprecedented success. I think it's going to be the greatest. And we are setting records on ticket sales. Nobody's ever really, and FIFA's never, you know, if you look at the numbers, nobody's ever seen anything like the kind of numbers we're doing. The early ticket sales are through the roof, and much of it is even sold out. So congratulations, Johnny. And I'd like to ask Johnny to say a few words. He's really done an incredible job. He's got unbelievable spirit and personality and talent and intelligence, I always like to say, because it's all a part of it. But the job you've done is based on what's happening, unprecedented. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you. Thank you, President. Thank you very much. I would like to start really by thanking you, Mr. President, Secretary Rubio, Secretary Noem, Andrew, your entire team for approving and making this very important announcement today. The FIFA Pass is being announced, the prioritized appointment scheduling system. That's the way people will remember it. So if you have a ticket for the World Cup, you can have a prioritized appointment to get your visa, because we said it the very first time we met, Mr. President, America welcomes the world. America will welcome the world here next year. We will have between 6 and 7 million tickets sold for the matches. We will have between 5 and 10 million people coming to America from all over the world to enjoy the World Cup. And with this FIFA Pass, we can make sure that those who buy a ticket that are legitimate football fans or soccer fans, they can come and attend the World Cup in the best conditions, starting from getting their visa and then coming, of course, in the country to enjoy. You mentioned the economic impact, the 30 billion, 200,000 jobs, and this is just for the World Cup, and we will build on that to make soccer even greater here. You are the #1 country in the world, the United States of America, Mr. President. You have to be the #1 country as well in the #1 sport in the world. So we have to work for that, and we will do that, and the World Cup will be very, very significant in this respect. So big thank you to you, to the White House Task Force, to everyone involved, and we are celebrating next year not just the 250 years, but also the greatest and most inclusive World Cup ever. We'll have 6 billion people watching. We have the draw coming up on the 5th of December here at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. 1 billion people watching the draw to find out who plays whom and where. We have 32 teams already qualified. Before or by tomorrow night, we'll have 42 out of 48 qualified. So a quarter of the world will be here, and we are looking very much forward. So thanks for the support, thanks for the great work, and always happy to be here at home, if I can say that.
You are home. We are. There's your beautiful trophy right there.
Yeah.
You are. And a big part of it, too. Marco, would you say a few words?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. First of all, for getting the games, because this happened in your first term when the Cup came here, and it's a major undertaking. So we've deployed over 400 additional consular officers around the world to deal with that, in some cases doubling the size of the consular presence in our embassies in certain countries. And the good news now is that in about 80% of the world, you can get an appointment within 60 days. It used to take, half a year or longer, and now sometimes it took, now you can get it in less than 2 months, where in places it took over a year. In places, for example, like Brazil and Argentina, it took over a year to get an appointment. Now you can get it in less than 2 months. So our advice to everybody is, if you have a ticket for any of the games, you need to apply if you haven't done so as soon as possible. Don't wait till the last minute. Your ticket is not a visa. It doesn't guarantee admission to the U.S. It guarantees you an expedited appointment. You're still going to go through the same vetting. We're going to do the same vetting as anybody else would get. The only difference here is we're moving them up in the queue. We're moving them up faster. But my advice to everyone that's watching around the world is, if you intend to come to the games, you have to have a ticket. You need to apply. Apply as soon as possible. You're going to get your interview within, 6 to 8 weeks, and move forward from there. Don't wait till the last minute to do it. Thank you.
Mr. Congressman, would you like to say something?
Well, first of all, Mr. President, none of this would have happened without your leadership securing this during your first term. I tell my colleagues all the time, this will be the largest sporting event in the history of the world. We expand from 32 to 48 teams for the first time ever. We're doing it with Mexico and Canada, but obviously the 11 host cities will be here in the United States, and it's going to have a $30 billion impact economically in this country. And so it has been a team effort by everybody, but I also want to thank President Infantino and obviously you, Mr. President, and your entire team, Andrew and Nick and everybody. It is going to be an unbelievable sporting event next summer.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Andrew, would you like to say something?
Sure. I
Maybe
think
we'll have somebody much more important.
much more important. And honestly, without her work, without Secretary of State Rubio's work in the State Department, this would not happen. Without your leadership and your vision, this would not have happened. I think two key points. One that the Secretary of State already highlighted. This is a welcoming message to the world without going around the safety and security procedures. It's so key to make sure that this World Cup is safe and secure, and the White House Task Force is working every day to make sure that's the case. And also, as Congressman LaHood said, the economic benefits for American businesses, both small and large, from a $30 billion event like this. So really, thanks to all the White House Task Force members, from Secretary Rubio to Secretary Noem, the two notice of funding opportunities that went out to the cities and states last month were really key from the safety and security perspective, to Deputy Chief of Staff Luna, who is integral in this whole process, to the White House Task Force members that are standing in the back of the room today and that couldn't be here. Without your hard work, this would not have happened, and I really can't thank you enough for really the best team I've ever been a part of. And also to FIFA, to the President Gianni Infantino, my good friend Carlos Cordiero, your desire to make this World Cup the best yet, it's contagious. Every single day I come in and think, what can we do to make this even better? And Mr. President, your vision more than anything. I think it takes a unique visionary to be able to go and see a sporting event and realize that this can be one of the greatest cultural events in world history. And I think there are very few people, aside from the 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, that can do that undertaking. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Christy,
well, Mr. President, thank you for Andrew. Thank you for making him the head of our FIFA task force. He's fantastic. And Nick has been a rock star in facilitating all of our meetings, getting everybody together and making sure that we're prepared to host this event. And it's going to be the world's largest sporting event ever hosted, and it's happening under your leadership. So every department has been working, but the Department of Homeland Security is working on making sure people can travel here safely. They know that they're welcome to the United States, that each of these events will be cooperative events with our cities to make sure that security needs are met. We put out over $600 million worth of grants to the 11 host cities that they'll have the advantage to partner on technologies and screening technologies, drone technology, counter UAS as well will be implemented. So we'll be prepared to host it safely, but also with Marco's leadership at the State Department, making sure that people that come in on these tourist visas are coming in thoroughly vetted, just like anyone who would travel here, and they would come and enjoy our country, and then they would go home and go home in a timely manner. So we're excited about that, and we're excited to partner with you, Mr. President, on creating memories for people around the world that will make them not just fall in love with the United States, but also fall in love with the sport of soccer.
Well, thank you. How many games are there, Johnny, total?
Total 104 games, meaning 104 Super Bowls in 1 month. This is the magnitude of the event.
You know, when you think
It is. It's incredible.
it's going to be the biggest sporting event we've ever had. It's like having 104, or even if you cut it in half, 50, 60 Super Bowls, right? That's okay too. Any questions, please?
Mr. President, can you just take us through this FIFA Pass idea that you guys are talking about here? How exactly is it going to work for ticket holders to this big event that the United States is hosting?
I'll let my guys do that because they can do it much better. And either one of you two, Nick, would you like to talk about it?
Sure. Well, Mr. President, without your leadership, this would not happen. And we came in 10 months. We have a system that's going to welcome the world. The greatest host in the history of the world is going to host the world here. Basically, this system allows folks with a FIFA ticket purchased through FIFA to go through the FIFA portal. That is then going to get prioritized with the State Department, so that those appointments are going to be had before existing appointments, so that people, when they buy tickets, they have confidence that they're going to be able to come to the games and spend their money and travel this country and do all the things that they want to do and enjoy the game. So it's an incredible vision that the president executed here. Within 10 months, we started with really not that much. And so this whole team here, with the president's guidance, has made this possible. It's going to be the greatest games in the history of the world.
Okay, do you have that?
Yes,
yes. Not too complicated. Daniel, please. Daniel?
Mr. President, you're talking about the economic impact of this. Billions and billions of dollars. This builds on the framework and the groundwork that you've built already up for a major year in 2026. Deregulation, energy independence, tax cuts, historic amounts of private sector investments. What do you envision for the 2026 economy when this event comes to town next year, too, on top of everything else?
Yeah, it's just a huge economic boon to this. You know, we had a little shutdown that was caused by the Democrats, and this will make up for it many times over, so that's good. But I think it's the importance of the event all over the world. The world is watching, and it really is. It's like having, you know, many Super Bowls, actually. Each game is almost a Super Bowl. Some of them are, I guess you could say, bigger than Super Bowls. I guess when you get to the finals, it's of that level or more. Much more. Worldwide, I think it's got to be more. So that's great. You know, when Johnny and I made the deal, I never thought I was going to be president because I was supposed to be retired by that time. And I got a little lucky, so I'm very honored to have it. And we have the Olympics coming too. That'll be great. And the 250 is going to be right out on the lawn. You're going to have a UFC event with Dana White and his people. He's going to have the greatest card they've ever assembled. I was talking to Dana White the other day, and they're going to have the greatest card they've ever assembled, Johnny. So you'll be sitting up there with me, Darren. We'll be watching it. So right opposite the front door of the White House. It's going to be on June 14th. So it's really going to be an amazing period of time. But this is something very, very special. World Cup. All my life I've heard about it. Yeah.
Mr. President, I have a question about Venezuela, but can I just first ask, the health of the president's always news. Your voice sounds a little rough. Are you feeling all right?
I feel great. I was shouting at people because they were stupid about something having to do with trade in a country, and I straightened it out. But I blew my stack at these people.
Well, it sounds like there's a follow-up there, but can I ask you about Venezuela? You suggested...
Is there what?
It sounds like there's a follow-up there, but can I ask you about Venezuela?
I thought you said there was a polyp, and I said, I don't want to hear that.
Okay. You suggested you've made a decision about what you want to do next about Venezuela. I understand you don't want to tip your hand, but is there anything you're ready to rule out at this point? Are you ruling out U.S. troops on the ground?
No, I don't rule out that. I don't rule out anything. We just have to take care of Venezuela. They dumped hundreds of thousands of people into our country from prisons. Nobody knows better than this young lady right here. She's done an incredible job with Tom Homan and all of your people. It's amazing. You know, we have a tight border right now. Nobody comes in. But we had millions of people pouring through. A year ago, we had millions of people pouring through our border. And many of them came from Venezuela, including Tren de Aragua, the gang. And I guess what I'm hearing, Christy, is that's as bad a gang as there is anywhere in the world.
It's the worst. Absolutely, sir. Absolutely, they are the worst.
I mean, they're worse than MS-13.
They're killers. They massacre people. They cut them up into pieces, and they bury them in their communities where they grew up. They're horrible people.
And we had a lot of them, and many of them, most of them, pretty soon, most of them are going to be out. But they sent them in like we're a dumping ground. So I'm not in love with the people running Venezuela. I love Venezuela. I love the people of Venezuela. But what they've done to this country, and I really say this, what Biden and the Democrats have done to this country can never, ever be forgotten.
You suggested Maduro wants to talk. Are you prepared to speak with him directly? Would you commit to doing that before you ordered strikes?
Yeah, I probably would talk to him. Yeah, I talk to everybody.
Mr. President,
go ahead,
follow
please.
up on Garrett. Was that what you were
Please, go
referring
ahead.
to? Was that India?
Rebecca Zalko with Blaze News. So, in a recent interview, you had made some remarks about H-1B visas. You said about H-1B visas.
Yeah.
You said that there were certain talents that Americans needed to outsource to foreign workers. Could you clarify?
Until they learn that, yeah. Like, for instance, if you're going to be making chips, we don't make chips too much here anymore, but we are going to be in a period of a year. We're going to have a big portion of the chip market. But we have to train our people how to make chips because we didn't do it. We used to do it, and then foolishly we lost that business to Taiwan. Very, very foolishly, because if they had a president that thought like I did, they would not have let that happen. But it's all coming back. I think we're going to have within a few years, we're going, and not because of the CHIPS Act. The CHIPS Act was a disaster for this country. We gave away billions of dollars to other countries and other locations and companies, and all they did was rob our money. But because of tariffs, the chips are coming back. Chip makers are all coming back. And I think within a very short period of time, we're going to have maybe even the majority of the chip making in the world will be right in the United States, where it should have been all along. But because we had people that didn't believe in tariffs, and they believed in them, but they didn't know how to use them, we would have had nobody leaving our country right now. And instead, you have almost 100% of the chips are made in Taiwan. It's so disgraceful. The good news is it's all coming back. Yeah, please.
Mr. President,
The gentleman in the back.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to just follow up on Venezuela. In these talks with Maduro, is there anything that he could say or do that would allow you to feel like he could stay with your support? Is there anything that he could say that you would be, okay, you can stay?
It's hard to say that. You know, the question's a little bit tricky. I don't think it was meant to be tricky. It's just that, look, he's done tremendous damage to our country, primarily because of drugs, but really because we have that problem with other countries too. But more than any other country, the release of prisoners into our country has been a disaster. He's emptied his jails. Others have done that also. He has not been good to the United States. So we'll see what happens. At a certain period of time, I'll be talking to him.
Mr. President, can I just follow up? You mentioned your voice and you were shouting about trade. Which country in particular upset you? Was it India?
No, a country wanted to try and renegotiate the terms of their trade deal, and I wasn't happy about it.
Well, which country was it? People want to know.
Why would I say that to you? I can't believe it.
Mr. President, on the World Cup, if you would, Seattle and the World Cup. The new mayor-elect of Seattle is a Democratic Socialist. Seattle has
or beyond. I watched her.
Right, Seattle has
that's more than socialism.
Right, Seattle has 6 World Cup games. How close are you going to be watching that city with the crime in that city?
Well, if we think, and I'll have to speak to Johnny about this, but if we think that the mayor of L.A. is incompetent, everybody knows that. You know that I was there, I guess, 2 years ago, and we got all the federal permits taken care of, far more complex than the state permits and the city permits. And Lee Zeldin, who's a superstar, got everything taken care of. The toughest part, having to do with the fires, that should have never happened. If they let the water come in, it wouldn't have happened, right? Do you know that people aren't building their houses yet? I mean, can you imagine that? And if we didn't go in early on, Christy, I think we can say it. Well, the head of their police department said it. They were unable to handle. You would have had, not only did you have the fires, but you would have had total insurrection in Los Angeles. And if we didn't go in, and the head of, the gentleman, he said it, and he said it strongly. He said we could not have done it without the federal government. We did a great job. If we think there's going to be a sign of any trouble, I would ask Johnny to move that to a different city. We have a lot of cities that would love to have it, number one, and we'll do it very safely. So if we think there's a problem in Seattle where you have a very, very liberal/communist mayor, I would say, it's certainly beyond just liberal. I watched her over the weekend. Wow, that's another beauty we got there. But if we think there's going to be a problem, we'll, Johnny, can I say we will move? I don't think you're going to have this problem, but we're going to move the event to someplace where it's going to be appreciated and safe.
Yeah, well, I think safety and security is the #1 priority for a successful World Cup. We can see today that people have trust in the United States when we see at the ticket sales, we sold, record-breaking figures of tickets, almost 2 million already sold out of 2 million that we have been selling. This is because people, they know that they will be coming here and they will experience a safe and secure World Cup. This is the responsibility, of course, of the government, of Secretary Norm, of everyone, and obviously we will. We will discuss. We are working together. We have a task force for this, and we must ensure that all fans coming from abroad or being here, they can experience a celebration of coming together of the sport. And this goes only with 100% safety.
We are communicating with all these mayors about what their responsibilities are. They know the safety and security of these events is their #1 responsibility, and we'll be there. The president's always there to keep Americans safe, but he also makes sure the people that know their responsibilities and that they're prepared to host these events and do so in a safe manner.
Is there a timeline? Mr. President.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
There was some news this morning from an Axios report that Senator Ted Cruz was laying the groundwork for a potential 2028 presidential run. Could I get your reaction to? Could you see yourself supporting Senator?
Well, he's a friend of mine. I haven't spoken to him about it. It's a little early. It's 3.25 years. That's a long time. But he's a very good guy. He's a very good friend of mine. You remember we had quite a campaign against Ted, and it worked out quite nicely. Let's see, where are we? Oh, we're in the old one. But I'm not that surprised to hear that.
Mr. President, on the tariff exemptions, you had some recently on a variety of different goods. I'm wondering, are you ruling out going forward no more exemptions on products? You were mentioning a disagreement you had earlier.
We've taken in hundreds of millions of dollars in tariff money. We're going to be issuing dividends later on, somewhere prior to, probably in the middle of next year, a little bit later than that, of thousands of dollars for individuals of moderate income, middle income. We're going to pay down debt. We have a lot of money from tariffs. If we didn't have tariffs, this nation would be in serious trouble. And we've taken in tremendous amounts of money. And you know what's more important than that? We've protected our businesses from being raided like we did with the chip business. Now we're bringing them all back. But we had 100% of the chip industry. And then they left. They went mostly to Taiwan and South Korea, but mostly Taiwan. And they have almost 100%. And we're going to have, within a short period of time, a big percentage of the chip business are coming back because of tariffs, because they don't want to pay the tariffs, because the tariffs will be very steep if they don't come back, and they've committed to come back. As you probably heard, Apple is now up to $700 billion. We have NVIDIA at $600 billion. We have tremendous amounts of money pouring in. Our country has become amazing again and really, really rich again. I will say this. We have a decision we're waiting for. It's a very big decision. The numbers that we've taken in, if you talk about investments, is trillions, not with a B, not with an M, millions, but trillions of dollars. I can't imagine having to give that money back on something that we're allowed to do. And the ones that are fighting us are countries, largely. They're back in countries that have been ripping us off for years, using tariffs to rip us off. And now we're able to defend ourselves. It really is a matter of national security, because economic security is national security. So I think you're going to see another thing happening. I think you'll see food prices. They've come down very substantially since Biden. But I think you're going to see food prices coming down very substantially.
Saudi Arabia, tomorrow you're hosting Saudi Arabia. Are you planning to sell F-35s to Saudi Arabia? And also, are you looking at doing a similar security agreement like you did with Qatar?
Yeah, no, I am planning on doing that, yeah.
You're going to
They
sell
want to buy.
F-35s?
They've been a great ally. They've got to like us very much. Look at the Iran situation, what we did in terms of obliterating, we obliterated their nuclear capability. Yeah, I will say that we will be doing that. We'll be selling F-35s. Yeah.
Mr. President, you clarify something you posted on Truth Social last night. You urged House Republicans to vote in favor of this Epstein release bill they're going to vote on tomorrow. I just want to be super clear on your position. Do you want to see that pass the Senate? Would you sign that bill if it gets to your desk?
I do want to. Here's what I want. We have nothing to do with Epstein. The Democrats do. All of his friends were Democrats. You look at this Reid Hoffman, you look at Larry Summers, Bill Clinton, they went to his island all the time, and many others. They're all Democrats. All I want is for people to recognize the great job that I've done on pricing, on affordability, because we brought prices way down, but they're going way lower, on energy, on ending 8 wars, and another one coming pretty soon, I believe. We've done a great job. And I hate to see that deflect from the great job we've done. So I'm all for it. We've already given 50,000 pages. You do know that. Unfortunately, like with the Kennedy situation, with the Martin Luther King situation, not to put Jeffrey Epstein in the same category, but no matter what we give, it's never enough. With Kennedy, we gave everything, and it wasn't enough. With Martin Luther King, we gave everything, and it's never enough. We've already given, I believe the number is 50,000 pages. 50,000 pages. And it's just a Russia hoax as it pertains to the Republicans. Now, I believe that many of the people some of the people that we mentioned are being looked at very seriously for their relationship to Jeffrey Epstein. But they were with him all the time. I wasn't at all. And we'll see what happens. What I just don't want Epstein to do is detract from the great success of the Republican Party, including the fact that the Democrats are totally blamed for the shutdown. They cost our country hundreds of billions of dollars with that, at a lot of inconvenience. So I'm for I don't. They can do whatever they want. We'll give them everything. Sure, I would. Let the Senate look at it. Let anybody look at it. But don't talk about it too much, because honestly, I don't want to take it away from us. It's really a Democrat problem. The Democrats were Epstein's friends, all of them. And it's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax. And I don't want to take it away from really the greatness of what the Republican Party has accomplished over the last period of time. Yeah.
Mr. President, on affordability,
the shutdown is now over. And administration officials had said when the shutdown ends, they'll reevaluate the farmer relief. Now we have the deal with China. So is the administration still looking to dish out farmer relief now that the government is back open?
Yeah, we want to. I'm always going to help our farmers.
So are you still looking to do
I would
relief?
do that, yeah. If they need relief, we'll be there for them. We're going to always be for our farmers.
So what are you waiting
Yeah,
for?
please, in the back.
Mr. President, just speaking of the economic impacts of FIFA and possibly moving to another city, some games if you feel there's crime, is there like a timeline that you would do that? Because these cities, there's sponsorships, there's economic impacts for these communities.
Sure.
Is there,
Well, the governors are going to have to behave. The mayors are going to have to behave. In the case of California, you have a problem. You have high crime, and you have a place that just suffered great fires and everything else, and they didn't do a very good job. And if we didn't go in from the crime standpoint, you would have had a disaster. It was not going to be handled properly. It wasn't able to be. The head of the police said as I said, without the federal government, they could not have done it. So here's the story. I love Los Angeles. If they want help during this, I would love to send in National Guard or whoever's necessary to help them. I want it to be great. I'd love it to be in Los Angeles. I love the place. It's a natural for Los Angeles. If we think there's going to be crime, if we are obstructed by the governor, and maybe he won't obstruct, maybe it'll be great, but I'd love him for him to call and say, we'd like to have some extra help, because if there's even a hint of a problem, we want to get in there before the problem occurs. We want to make it totally safe for Johnny and FIFA and all of the great people that are going to be there, and I think that's going to happen. I would be honored to help California if they're going to have a problem. And if they think they're going to have a problem, they should say so. We can be in there in 24 hours notice and do a great job.
But does that mean by the year, by the end of the year, by the end of the first quarter?
Well, I think this: if they would tell us now, they're not going to have a problem, because if we go in, they don't have a problem. Look at D.C. There's no crime in D.C. anymore, and D.C. was a mess. If they want us to go in, I'd like them to tell us right now. But if we go in, there will be no problem. There will be no crime.
What's the message then to local businesses who are considering sponsoring this?
Tell your governor to ask for federal help. We'd love to help them.
Mr. President, are you planning also potentially launching strikes in Mexico or putting American troops or American personnel into Mexico to deal with it?
Would I launch strikes in Mexico to stop drugs? It's okay with me. Whatever we have to do to stop drugs. Mexico is... Look, I looked at Mexico City over the weekend. There's some big problems over there. If we had to, would we do there what we've done to the waterways? There's almost no drugs coming in through our waterways anymore. Isn't it down like 85%?
It is, sir. Absolutely.
I don't know who the 15% would be.
Yep.
It wouldn't be you.
No, that's for sure.
No, I think it's been...
Tons and tons of
You would
drugs.
say that's a big signal.
Absolutely.
We have almost no drugs coming into our country by the sea, by, the waterways. And you know why, okay? I mean, it's pretty obvious. Would I do that on the land cars? I would absolutely. Look, every boat we knock out, we save 25,000 American lives. Not to mention the destruction of families. These families are decimated forever. The mother, the father, the children, they never recover really from it. When you lose somebody, like the way they live, if you lose them, but the way they die is horrible.
Is it something?
So when we knock out a boat and we save 25,000 lives, that's great. Now, do I feel the same way about the corridors that they use? We know every one of them. We have every one of those corridors under major surveillance. We have nobody coming in through our southern border. But we know exactly how they get their things here, how they get the drugs here, fentanyl, cocaine. Colombia has cocaine factories where they make cocaine. Would I knock out those factories? I would be proud to do it personally. I didn't say I'm doing it, but I would be proud to do it because we're going to save millions of lives by doing it.
Would you only do it with Mexico's permission, though?
I wouldn't answer that question. I've been speaking to Mexico. They know how I stand. We're losing hundreds of thousands of people to drugs. So now we've stopped the waterways, but we know every route. We know every route. We know the addresses of every drug lord. We know their address. We know their front door. We know everything about every one of them. They're killing our people. That's like a war. Would I do it? I'd be proud to. I'd probably go into Congress and say, hey, and you know what? The Democrats and the Republicans would both agree, unless they're crazy. And they are a little crazy on the Democrat side. But we have lost hundreds of thousands of people a year, death. And that's not talking about family destruction, that's talking about death. And much of it comes through Mexico. So let me just put it this way. I am not happy with Mexico, okay? Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press.
Thank you.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, guys, for Thank you, Press.
And that was President Trump at the White House in a meeting with the FIFA task force and saying that it's going to be a great World Cup and it's going to be a safe one, saying that the economic impact will be huge as well. $30 billion, 200,000 jobs created, and answering questions from reporters as well. Some asking about Venezuela. President Trump ruled out, or rather didn't rule out, U.S. troops on the ground. Okay, next, War Secretary Pete Hegseth launched a campaign called Operation Southern Spear, targeting narco-terrorists in South America, Central America, and the Caribbean. Joining us to discuss is Emmanuel Rican, a Venezuelan lawyer and writer and the CEO of Regional Renaissance Consulting. So, Emmanuel, thank you for staying with us here. Can you talk?
Thank you.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Can you talk to us about the scale of force relative to the stated mission here? Because the total U.S. personnel in Latin America is approximately 15,000. This is the largest in the region in decades, and with the largest aircraft carrier in the world. So can you talk to us about that? Why deploy so many troops?
Well, I think that the President Trump understands that there's need to be a regime change in Venezuela because Nicolas Maduro has turned the region into a mess. I mean, he's the biggest threat to the United States in every reason. I mean, he's trafficking drugs, he's harboring terrorist groups from the Middle East in Venezuela, and he's also exporting criminals to the United States. So Nicolas Maduro is trying right now to negotiate with the Trump administration, saying that he will give oil license and all the stuff. But really, President Trump have next to him Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and he understands quite well what is going on in Venezuela. And he knows that while Maduro stays in power, there's not going to be security for the United States.
So, Emmanuel, I understand you have a law background. So can I ask you this question then? Do U.S. strikes on suspected drug boats violate international law? Because some are questioning whether the killings at sea are considered extrajudicial executions.
Well, I mean, the Trump administration has designated these groups as terrorist foreign groups. Actually, yesterday, the Secretary of State designated Cartel de los Soles as a terrorist organization. So they are trafficking drugs to the United States. They are killing hundreds of thousands of people every year. It's more than the double of the people that they kill in all the Vietnam War. So, I mean, this is a biggest threat to the United States.
Okay, so can you address some of the reactions from countries so far? Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro mobilizing 200,000 troops and placed the country on maximum alert, right? Saying the U.S. actions are an act of aggression. The U.K. has reportedly suspended intelligence with the U.S. over concerns of the legality of the strike. So what are your reactions to that?
I mean, those numbers are inflated. I mean, there's no way that Nicolas Maduro has that amount of personnel training right now. I mean, what is happening in Venezuela is that the Maduro regime has established that all the mayors and generals in the military of Venezuela has become like drug lords. And that is not the same for all the people, I mean, all the soldiers in the forces. So while all the people in the military, in the high ranks, are getting rich with narco trafficking and gold mining and all the stuff, the people, I mean, the other soldiers are having a bad time, they don't have like money to eat and all those stuff. So really, Maduro doesn't have all the support. It has the support of criminal groups that are profiting from this catastrophe, but it's not going to last. And the people is not going to stand with Nicolas Maduro. I mean, 90% of the Venezuelans reject this regime, so he doesn't really have a support in the Venezuelan people.
So, Emmanuel, as we heard from the press conference earlier, reporters were asking about President Trump, about U.S. troops on the ground in Venezuela, and it appears that President Trump did not rule that out. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think that the President Trump, I mean, yesterday they said that they were going to designate the Cartel de los Soles as a terrorist foreign group on November 24. I think that the President Trump has given an ultimatum to Maduro and his cronies and saying you got 7 days to pack up and going out, or maybe we're going to get in. I mean, that's what I can understand about what President Trump is doing.
How much drugs really are coming into the U.S. from these regions?
I mean, from Venezuela. I mean, Venezuela is not the place where all the drugs are being like cropped. Venezuela is the place where they are distributing the drugs. So I will say that approximately since report from the FBI of 2021, it's like between 20% or 25% of the drugs that are coming to the United States. I mean, all the drugs that are coming from Colombia and Bolivia and Peru are crossing through Venezuela and going up to the United States.
Okay, Emmanuel, final question. Could Operation Southern Spear play a role in deterring future threats against the United States?
100%. But I mean, as I was saying at first, I mean, I think that the United States has to defend their homeland and the national security. And for that to happen, they have to eliminate all the illegal and criminal groups that are destroying the United States. The Maduro regime is harboring terrorists from the Middle East, are sending criminals to the United States, and are sending a ton of drugs that are killing hundreds of thousands of people. So if the United States doesn't do anything about it, it's going to continue this enormous crisis in the region.
Well, okay, Emmanuel, really appreciate you speaking with us today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Does the U.S. need the H-1B visa program to stay competitive on the global stage, specifically against China? We discussed this after the break. Does the U.S. have to consider asylum claims from people waiting to cross the southern border? The Supreme Court says they'll hear a case. We have more news after this break.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers. He connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
A Chinese man from the San Francisco Bay Area was sentenced today to 46 months in federal prison for stealing trade secrets technologies used to detect and track missiles. The technologies were developed by the United States, and the man, Cheng Guang, was ordered to pay $77,000 in restitution and fined an additional $100,000. Gong stole more than 3,600 files from a Southern California company where he worked as an engineer in 2023. Law enforcement also found that this was not an isolated incident and that Gong had a long pattern of stealing technology from U.S. companies to benefit the Chinese military. Gong had been recruited by China's communist regime in 2016 to collect and pass on information in exchange for financial incentives. President Trump defended the H-1B visa program, saying there isn't enough domestic talent to fill available jobs. Joining us to discuss is Grant Newsroom, a retired U.S. Marine colonel and former U.S. diplomat. He's also a senior fellow at the Center for Security Policy. And we also have Santiago Vidal Calvo, a policy analyst at Manhattan Institute. So good afternoon to you both. Colonel, if I may, I'll start with you today. In your view, does the U.S. need the H-1B visa programs to stay competitive on the global stage, especially against China?
Well, I think it does. You always want the best people that you can get. And the concern that I've got principally is that these sorts of programs, over some time, they become something of a racket where their original intentions and objectives are lost. And that's what I think is what's happened with the H-1B program. But in theory, it's a good one. I think the way it's turned out is not so good, and it does need some fixing.
So, Santiago, let me go to you now. What are your thoughts on this program? Do we need it?
Hey, well, thank you for the invitation. I actually do agree also that we need the H-1B program. It's a program that actually brings the best and brightest around the world, or that was the intention. And I do believe that the program needs some fixes and it needs some improvements. But in the big scheme of things, the U.S. needs this international talent to keep up with production of talent around the world. China outspeeds the United States in production of STEM graduates by 3 or 4 times of what we're currently producing. And if we can pitch as a soft technique around the world to bring this talent to the United States and use it here for our advantage, I think that's a benefit.
Well, security concerns, if we're always relying on foreign talent, domestically.
No, I'm sorry, got cut off. Was that for me?
Right. Colonel.
Okay, thank you. Didn't hear that. Okay. Well, of course, there's a national security issue all the time to all of this. And one thing I've noticed, I also used to work for Motorola, if anyone remembers that company, and also a big investment bank. I remember the HR people would often tell you that they could hire people so much cheaply overseas, and that's what they were all in for. And with these programs, and I would have to say HR in general, there's often a sense that that national security is somebody else's problem. So I'm not sure that it gets the attention it deserves here. But it is obviously a concern, and that's why the program needs to be very carefully monitored to ensure that you don't have these kind of national security issues. And the original intention of the program is a good one. But the way that it's worked out now, I'm just not convinced that it is. Any time that you hear that there's a lottery involved in choosing people, and there's obvious evidence of fraud as well in some of the qualifications of some of the people, maybe a lot of them from certain places, that the whole thing needs to be revamped pretty seriously.
So, Santiago, I want to follow up on your earlier point. And I want to ask, to what extent does the U.S. depend on foreign talent to sustain its different sectors right now?
Well, the H-1B visa program, it's just a very small fraction of the labor market. You're talking about 700,000 people out of more than 100 million people market in the United States. And true, for some sectors it is very important, like, for example, tech. But it is also true that what we're bringing here is capacitated skills that around the world are tailored for the needs of the United States. And if we can bring those immigrants here, then that is a net benefit for the United States, both fiscally, because the average H-1B migrant, depending on the age, can produce up to a net benefit to the fiscal burden of the United States of $800,000. And that is, research from the Manhattan Institute, where I work at, with Daniel DiMartino, who is one of our fellows. However, I also see that many parts, like, the colonel is saying, many parts of this immigration program need to be revamped with what we previously had. Like, for example, the United States previously had restrictions for Communist Party affiliates or totalitarian regime affiliates, and we still have those for immigrant visas, like green cards. However, we removed many of them for non-immigrant visas, like the H-1B visa program. We can 100% deny entrance to the United States dependent on communist affiliation. That is something that goes against our national interests, and regardless of the skills, you don't want people that are going to go against the national interests of the United States.
So, Colonel, maybe you can address some of your earlier concerns that you brought up. How do we have a program where we can have foreign talent come into the country, but not have, at the same time, national security concerns, not have IP theft as well?
Well, there's always going to be that theft and that sort of risk, and that's actually not one of the main things as I see it, but rather it's that a program that is intended to be carefully applied to get specific people to do some very narrow things has been expanded apparently to sort of, some might fairly argue, displace American workers who cost too much. And when you have sort of these third-party groups that can get a lot of the H-1B visas and then dole them out, well, it's not fair, to put it mildly. But there is that concern that it's American workers who aren't getting looked after. I think it is very much a real one. And I remember hearing this in the past, in the 80s. Remember, we were told that Americans won't work. And there's going to be the Japanese who are going to take us over. Well, there's plenty of Americans, with the skills to do these things. And sometimes you need training. We'll bring in a few trainers, but it should not be sort of a scheme to bring in large numbers of people. As I see it, there was something like 180,000 Americans who sort of got the max score on the SATs just recently. And that's a lot of people. So we do have the resources, and where we need extra people, then bring them in, but it has to be done carefully. Not the way that it's been done now, where it almost reminds you of, say, when you hear that a sporting event, all the tickets are sold, and then somehow you can buy them somewhere because somebody has managed to get their hands on a lot of them. It does need to be relooked.
Okay, so Santiago, do you see any solutions? Perhaps reform is needed for this program so that we don't have the issues, the abuse as well associated with H-1B?
Well, first of all, let me just say that the H-1B visa program is not a cheap program by any means. You're talking about median salaries of $120,000 a year. These are not cheap labor that you're trying to import from somewhere else. And the median just means that 50% of those H-1Bs are actually above that 120,000. So it's not cheap labor by all means, especially when it costs the employer before the $100,000 fee hike almost $15,000 to $20,000 to hire an H-1B employee. Now it costs them $120,000 to hire an H-1B employee. So we're talking about a big investment that we're doing into the country. Some things that you can do to revamp this program is choose some prevailing wage. You grab the salaries that are the highest by profession and by age, and you essentially, you give them better chances of winning the lottery. For example, the United States would benefit from having a 23-year-old engineer or IT specialist that comes to this country with valuable skills before having the same exact profession, but 40 or 50 years old. Because if you're grabbing younger, that means those people are going to pay more in taxes. And H-1B employees pay around $85 billion in taxes to the United States. So we're talking a big portion of the population, a big payment going from a very, very small portion of the population. And we can even revamp this program to be even more beneficial for the United States.
Okay, Colonel, maybe just one more response from you, and then, pardon me, and then one more from Santiago. So I wanted to ask you, Colonel, what ultimately does America's superpower status depend on?
Depends on the things that make us successful, and that's consensual government, the freedoms we take for granted, free markets, and a sort of a world that plays by those rules as well. But it does not sort of require us, as I say, to at all cost forget about who the Americans are. And this system ultimately needs to be, like every system, needs to look after American workers. And that's American workers from all over the place. And it needs to be carefully done, carefully handled. And I think American workers have gotten lost in a lot of this. The idea is that, well, you can, and I've seen this happen, you can get somebody cheaper, you bring them in. And I hear that, I've heard that all the time in the companies that I've worked for. But say American workers tend to get lost in all of the discussion about this. And they need to be looked after first. National security needs to be an issue as well. So, it's a system that does need to be fixed, and I think fixed pretty quickly.
Okay, Santiago, just final thoughts here. Same question to you. What would you attribute to the United States' top spot in the global stage?
Well, I think it's our ability to influence the world with the things we do. I think it's to keep our ranking as a primary effective builder and creator of all the things that made America great. And for example, 57% of STEM PhDs are responsible for a big portion of the education sector in the STEM. Most patents are built by immigrants. Those things are very beneficial. Companies like Tesla would have never existed if Elon Musk, an H-1B recipient, would have not come here to the United States and created thousands of jobs more for Americans. I think what we need to see here is the value that each visa has. And there is research to show that each H-1B visa increments the job market. I would actually say that most American workers benefit from having H-1B visas because H-1B visas pay $27 billion in Social Security and Medicare here in the United States. Those are things that, sure, a very small portion of a population loses, but are they necessarily losing because H-1B visas are working as replacement? There is hundreds of thousands of jobs open in the tech market, more than the H-1B visas that come each year. I think it's a matter of competition. It's a matter of, are we choosing the best people for the job? And if those best people can come from abroad and help America in the process keep its status as a world-leading economy and as a world-leading producer of technologies, I think that's a net benefit for the United States.
Well, all right, let's leave the conversation here for today. Thank you both, Santiago, Colonel Newsroom. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
An illegal alien from Uzbekistan allegedly tied to a terrorist organization has been arrested. The Department of Homeland Security announced the arrest of Ankoror Borzorov. ICE says he entered the U.S. illegally in early 2023. In the department's post on X, it said Borzorov was released into the country by the Biden administration. He was issued a commercial driver's license in Pennsylvania and working as a commercial truck driver. ICE shared that Borzorov was wanted in his original country for belonging to a terrorist organization. He is accused of distributing terrorist propaganda and calling for others to join the movement. Ukrainian President Zelensky is in France today, signing a major weapons deal. Ukraine is said to receive 100 French fighter jets, among other things, and Russia says it still hopes for a presidential meeting with the U.S. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pazdar has the latest.
France and Ukraine on Monday agreeing on a major weapons deal. Paris is set to supply Kiev with 100 fighter jets. Besides the 100 jets, Ukraine is also set to receive French radars and 8 air defense systems, each with 6 launching systems. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says each one of those launching systems means that more Ukrainian lives will be saved. Here is Zelensky commenting on the deal while in Paris on Monday.
We're setting a direction. We will together increase the industrial and technological potential of Ukraine and France. This means not only defense, this is literally the strength in life.
Monday marks Zelensky's 9th visit to Paris since Russia's invasion over 3 years ago. His talks were meant to strengthen Ukraine's defense as the country enters another winter under Russian bombardment of its energy infrastructure. French President Emmanuel Macron commented on the ongoing fighting while meeting with Zelensky on Monday.
In the face of this persistence by Russia, these unacceptable attacks against civilians and on critical energy infrastructure, We remain determined and strong-willed for peace.
The Kremlin didn't respond to Macron's statements. Neither did it comment on Monday's weapons deal between Ukraine and France. But a spokesman says that Russia still hopes for a presidential meeting with the US once the preparation is done to guarantee a productive summit.
We are all interested in these conditions occurring sooner rather than later. As soon as this preparation is completed and the conditions are in place, we hope it will take place.
President Trump, meanwhile, says that Republicans in Congress are planning to impose new sanctions on numerous countries.
On any country doing business with Russia. They may add Iran to that, as you know. I suggested it. So any country that does business with Russia will be very severely sanctioned.
Senator Lindsey Graham confirmed on Monday, saying the legislation allows President Trump to impose secondary sanctions and tariffs on countries who continue to buy cheap Russian oil and gas, propping up Putin's war machine. Arian Pastar, NTD News.
Countries around the world are gearing up for Christmas with bright, colorful lights and other festive displays. However, there are some local rules and regulations that drivers need to follow if they want to stay off Santa's naughty list. Emirates orders new Boeing 777s. The deal makes the carrier Boeing's largest customer for the aircraft. More news after this break.
Don't wait. Call now to find out about our Medicare plan.
Why do we have to sit through so many Medicare commercials this time of year? It's endless.
Good question, Edith. I'm glad you asked. We see so many commercials this time of year because it's the only time, other than special circumstances, when Medicare recipients can change their plan for Part C. Original Medicare only covers Parts A and B, but a Medicare Advantage plan has additional benefits that Original Medicare doesn't offer.
So now's the time to fill those spaces?
That's right, Archie. And every year, there are changes to what benefits you may receive from your Part C plan. Call right now to find out what plan best suits your needs.
It's easy, easy, don't delay. Pick up the phone and call today.
Call now for your free Medicare review.
1-833-469-1754. 1-833-469-1754.
You may now return to your regularly scheduled programming.
People can now buy Ford vehicles on Amazon, and the pre-owned vehicles are certified by Ford dealerships. Ford made the announcement today and said customers will be able to shop a participating dealer's inventory of used vehicles directly through Amazon. Most of the paperwork can be done online, and people can schedule a time to pick up the vehicle. The cars are backed by a Ford warranty and gives shoppers a money-back guarantee if they decide to return the vehicle within 2 weeks. The program is launched in Los Angeles, Seattle, and Dallas for now. Car makers have been trying to provide smoother online shopping for people concerned with spending hours at dealerships. The Dubai Air Show opened today with national airline Emirates ordering 65 Boeing 777 aircraft. The purchase comes as the carrier looks to expand its fleet amid record earnings and constant demand for flights. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on the deal.
Emirates is looking to expand with 65 new Boeing jets. The announcement brings the carrier's total order to 270 new 777-9s, making it Boeing's largest customer for the aircraft.
It's a long-term commitment that supports hundreds of thousands of high-value manufacturing jobs, and it reinforces our 40-year partnership with Boeing and GE.
The airline valued its most recent deal with Boeing and GE engines at $38 billion. Head of Dubai Airports Paul Griffith expects more purchases from other carriers during the show.
It will be interesting to see how many airlines announce deals today and throughout the week. We're expecting a record order book for Dubai Air Show, and I'm sure it will not be a disappointing week.
Emirates earned annual profits of $5.2 billion in the last fiscal year. Passenger numbers remain record-breaking at Dubai International Airport, the world's busiest for international travel. The airline made a $52 billion purchase of Boeing aircraft at the 2023 edition of the air show. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
A World War II veteran has celebrated his 101st birthday after becoming a published songwriter. His work is a collaboration with a Nashville-based nonprofit that helps veterans through the arts. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on the tune.
One day before his 101st birthday, If Freedom Was Free was released by Big Machine label group. The song is the work of World War II veteran Irving Locker. Locker details the daily struggles he and other service members faced. No toilets, no sinks, no showers, and living in a foxhole.
These are the things that come out. So with the song or with this, I've been doing this now since the war. Talking about this and trying to educate people as to what the hell it was.
Locker teamed up with nonprofit Creative Vets. The Nashville-based organization works with veterans in their artistic pursuits. Locker explains the meaning behind his work.
It means the truth. So many men died, and so many men lost their legs and their arms, and they're still in hospitals. It's 81 years ago, and they're still tied up and crippled up because they had to fight. So freedom is not free.
Locker landed at Utah Beach on D-Day. He says he became more spiritual as the war raged on.
I learned to be very honest with you, I was never conscious of God until the war. But I came so close to dying that I learned to thank God and use the simple phrase, "But for the grace of God go I."
Locker worked with Texas singer-songwriter Bart Crow and duo Johnny and Heidi Bulford, who also sing on the track. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Thank you.
Countries around the world are gearing up for Christmas with bright, colorful lights and other festive displays. Here in the U.S., Christmas lights typically start going up after or around Christmas, or Thanksgiving, actually. However, there are some local rules and regulations residents will need to follow if they want to stay off Santa's naughty list. New York City is famous for its bright and colorful Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. Residents in the Big Apple and local neighborhoods put up their own lights and decorations. Drivers, on the other hand, will need to refrain from turning their vehicles into glowing sleds. New York State's DMV prohibits motorists from outfitting their rides with decorative lights. The rules are similar in other states, including Florida. Drivers in the Sunshine State are prohibited from displaying blue, red, and white lights or any flashing lights. Other decorations are permitted but must not exceed certain size limits. So check local laws before decorating your vehicle, or you might get a coal or a ticket in your stocking. People looking for holiday seasonal hiring should be on the lookout for ghost jobs. Find out why applying for quality over quantity may be better for finding a job. We have more after this break.
This is an urgent appeal from Save the Children.
أنا أخواتي بيموتوا من الجوع ما نصير تغذية كمان بيغوا بالليل بيبكوا من الجوع يعني ما بنحسن يعني نعمل لهم أكل أنا باخدها بسكتها وما بتسكت كمان مو بس أختي صغيرة جوعانة وأخواتي كل سنة 11 ويحمسوني واقفوا الفعيد.
For Tariq, Asha, and Kaltoon, watching their siblings experience the pain of malnutrition is heartbreaking. They are among the millions of children at greatest risk in the global hunger emergency. We need your support right now to help save children's lives. Please call or go online to give just $10 a month, only 33 cents a day. You can help us provide food, essentials, life-saving medical care, and help children who need it most. We need 1,000 new monthly donors this month to reach children around the world and right here at home. Please help children like Kaltoon so they don't have to watch their siblings suffer. Please call or go online now with your monthly gift of just $10, only 33 cents a day. You can help provide food, medicine, care, and protection by calling or going online right now and giving just $10 a month. Your donation today can help secure additional grants, which can multiply the impact of your support up to 10 times. And when you call with your credit card, we will send you this Save the Children tote bag as a thank you for your support.
بتمنى يكون عندنا أكل وشرب لأخواتي ما يضلوا جوعانين.
Your small monthly donation of just $10 could be the reason a hungry child survives. Show them they're not alone. Please call or go online to givetosave.org to help save lives.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our biggest 3-in-1 sale ever with a limited edition product, a back in stock special, and a closeout deal you won't find anywhere else. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get our MyPillow bed sheets only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings, regular $119.98, only $29.88. Once they're gone for good. How about our My Towels? They're finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And for the first time and the only time ever, get our limited edition premium My Pillows. They're made with Giza cotton and designer gusset. Queens $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the best offers ever. Quantities are extremely limited, so order now.
Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. President Trump changing course on the release of the Epstein files and the administration touting affordability in a push before next year's midterm elections. The Trump administration has given a week's notice to the Maduro regime before the U.S. designates the Cartel of the Suns as a foreign terrorist organization. The designation would expand the president's powers to take action against the regime. Does the U.S. have to consider asylum claims from people waiting to cross the southern border? The Supreme Court says they'll hear a case. People looking for holiday seasonal hiring should be on the lookout for ghost jobs. Find out why applying for quality over quantity may be better for finding a job. A senior Japanese official is in Beijing working to ease escalating tensions between the two countries. It comes after Japan's prime minister promised to protect Taiwan if invaded by China, to which a Chinese official responded with a startling threat. Emirates orders new Boeing 777s. The deal makes the carrier Boeing's largest customer for the aircraft.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Thank you for staying with us. President Trump changing course on his previous opposition to a bill ordering the release of the Epstein files, and the president highlighting his economic agenda in a push for affordability before the midterm elections. We now go live to NTD's Washington correspondent Mari Otsu at the White House. Mari, good afternoon. What's President Trump's latest take on the Epstein files?
Don, good afternoon. Yes, today President Trump is changing course on the release of the Epstein files. He's now calling on House Republicans to vote for a bill that would essentially compel the Department of Justice to release all files pertaining to the sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The president also just moments ago in the Oval said that he wants to sign that bill if it gets to his desk after passing both the House and the Senate. And in a Truth Social post on Sunday, President Trump writes that Republicans should vote to release the files because, quote, they have nothing to hide, saying it's time to move on from what he calls a Democrat hoax perpetrated to deflect from what he calls the great success of the Republican Party. He also adds, quote, let's start talking about the Republican Party's record-setting achievements and not fall into the Epstein trap. Take a look at his remarks in the Oval today.
We have nothing to do with Epstein, the Democrats do. All of his friends were Democrats. You look at this Reid Hoffman, you look at Larry Summers, Bill Clinton, they went to his island all the time, and many others, they're all Democrats. All I want for people to recognize the great job that I've done on pricing, on affordability, because we brought prices way down. But what I just don't want Epstein to do is detract from the great success of the Republican Party, including the fact that the Democrats are totally blamed for the shutdown. You know, they cost our country hundreds of billions of dollars with that.
And as Democrats ascribe their recent off-year election wins in New York, New Jersey, and Virginia as due to their messaging on affordability, President Trump dismisses Democrats' recent focus on affordability, calling it a, quote, hollow catchphrase instead of serious policy. He adds that he's been relentlessly focused on the economy and that he's undoing damage from the previous administration. That includes today, President Trump also touts what he calls hundreds of billions of dollars coming into the country in tariff revenue, announcing that he'll likely be issuing tariff dividend checks sometime in the middle of 2026. Don, back to you.
Okay, Mari, thank you. The Trump administration has announced it will designate the Maduro-led Cartel of the Suns as a foreign terrorist organization. The move comes as President Trump evaluates his military options against the regime. Our Washington correspondent Luis Eduardo Martinez has more on the story.
Peace, peace, peace. Imagining us people. Mira, son jodedores, vale.
Images over the weekend of a smiling Nicolás Maduro singing John Lennon's Imagine and asking for peace have not dissuaded the Trump administration from confronting one of the region's deadliest dictatorship in its history.
We have a lot of training in that part of the world. We're reactivating our jungle school in Panama. We would be ready to act on whatever the president's SecWar needed.
According to Human Rights Watch, the security forces of the Maduro regime have murdered more than 8,000 civilians in the last 9 years for resisting authority. Maduro has also been accused in U.S. courts of being a narco-terrorist and of leading the Cartel of the Suns. And over the weekend, the State Department announced that on November 24th, the United States will designate the Cartel of the Suns as a foreign terrorist organization.
Does that mean that the U.S. government can target Maduro's assets or infrastructure inside Venezuela?
It allows us to do that, but we haven't said we're going to do that. And we may be having some
Discussions with Maduro, and we'll see how that turns out. They would like to talk.
More than a third of Venezuela's population has fled the country since Maduro took power, and some 700,000 Venezuelans migrated to the United States.
We didn't leave Venezuela because we wanted to. We fled Maduro.
It's time for him to go. I don't care if he goes to prison, they do something to him, or he just goes away to anywhere else. But it's time for him and his government to go.
More than 80,000 Americans died last year due to illegal drugs. The Trump administration has made it a priority to stop the flow of drugs into the United States.
Designating these groups terrorist organizations is the right thing to do, especially the drug cartels. They've killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world. It's about time we had a strong president like President Trump come in and hold these people accountable.
The most advanced U.S. aircraft carrier group, alongside 8 other destroyers and F-35s, have been deployed to the South Caribbean Sea as part of Operation Southern Spear. Thus far, the U.S. military has conducted 20 strikes against cartels trafficking drugs in the region and killing over 80 narco-terrorists. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
War Secretary Pete Hegseth launched a campaign called Operation Southern Spear, targeting narco-terrorists in South America, Central America, and the Caribbean. Joining us to discuss is Emmanuel Rican, a Venezuelan lawyer and writer and the CEO of Regional Renaissance Consulting. So, Emmanuel, thank you for staying with us here. Can you talk?
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Can you talk to us about the scale of force relative to the stated mission here? Because the total U.S. personnel in Latin America is approximately 15,000. This is the largest in the region in decades, and with the largest aircraft carrier in the world. So can you talk to us about that? Why deploy so many troops?
Well, I think that the President Trump understands that there's a need to be a regime change in Venezuela because Nicolás Maduro has turned the region into a mess. I mean, he's the biggest threat to the United States in every reason. I mean, he's trafficking drugs, he's harboring terrorist groups from the Middle East in Venezuela, and he's also exporting criminals to the United States. So Nicolás Maduro is trying right now to negotiate with the Trump administration, saying that he will give oil license and all the stuff. But really, they President Trump have next to him Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and he understands quite well what is going on in Venezuela. And he knows that while Maduro stays in power, there's not going to be security for the United States.
So, Emmanuel, I understand you have a law background. So can I ask you this question then? Do U.S. strikes on suspected drug boats violate international law? Because some are questioning whether the killings at sea are considered extrajudicial executions.
Well, I mean, the Trump administration has designated these groups as terrorist foreign groups. Actually, yesterday, the Secretary of State designated Cartel de los Soles as a terrorist organization. So they are trafficking drugs to the United States. They are killing hundreds of thousands of people every year. It's more than the double of the people that they kill in all the Vietnam War. So, I mean, this is a biggest threat to the United States.
Okay, so can you address some of the reactions from countries so far? Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro mobilizing 200,000 troops and placed the country on maximum alert, right? Saying the U.S. actions are an act of aggression. The U.K. has reportedly suspended intelligence with the U.S. over concerns of the legality of the strike. So what are your reactions to that?
I mean, those numbers are inflated. I mean, there's no way that Nicolas Maduro has that amount of personnel training right now. I mean, what is happening in Venezuela is that the Maduro regime has established that all the mayors and generals in the military of Venezuela has become like drug lords. And that is not the same for all the people, I mean, all the soldiers in the forces. So while all the people in the military, in the high ranks, are getting rich with narco trafficking and gold mining and all the stuff, the people, I mean, the other soldiers are having a bad time, they don't have like money to eat and all those stuff. So really, Maduro doesn't have all the support. It has the support of criminal groups that are profiting from this catastrophe, but it's not going to last. And the people is not going to stand with Nicolas Maduro. I mean, 90% of the Venezuelans reject this regime, so he doesn't really have a support in the Venezuelan people.
So, Emmanuel, as we heard from the press conference earlier, reporters were asking about President Trump, about U.S. troops on the ground in Venezuela, and it appears that President Trump did not rule that out. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think that the President Trump, I mean, yesterday they said that they were going to designate the Cartel de los Soles as a terrorist foreign group on November 24. I think that the President Trump has given an ultimatum to Maduro and his cronies and saying, you got 7 days to pack up and going out, or maybe we're going to get in. I mean, that's what I can understand about what President Trump is doing.
How much drugs really are coming into the U.S. from these regions?
I mean, from Venezuela, I mean, Venezuela is not the place where all the drugs are being like cropped. Venezuela is the place where they are distributing the drugs. So I will say that approximately since report from the FBI of 2021, it's like between 20% or 25% of the drugs that are coming to the United States. I mean, all the drugs that are coming from Colombia and Bolivia and Peru are crossing through Venezuela and going up to the United States.
Okay, Emmanuel, final question. Could Operation Southern Spear play a role in deterring future threats against the United States?
100%. But I mean, as I was saying at first, I mean, I think the United States has to defend their homeland and the national security. And for that to happen, they have to eliminate all the illegal and criminal groups that are destroying the United States. The Maduro regime is harboring terrorists from the Middle East, are sending criminals to the United States, and are sending a ton of drugs that are killing hundreds of thousands of people. So if the United States doesn't do anything about it, it's going to continue this enormous crisis in the region.
Well, okay, Emmanuel, really appreciate you speaking with us today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Does the U.S. have to hear asylum claims from people attempting to cross the U.S.-Mexico border? Federal law wording says that someone has to have arrived in the U.S. for consideration. The Supreme Court says they'll hear a case deciding if that extends to someone arriving at the U.S.-Mexico border without crossing over just yet. NTD correspondent Jason Blair reports.
The Supreme Court announces that they'll decide whether federal law requires asylum claims to be heard from someone who arrives at the U.S.-Mexico border but doesn't cross into the U.S. The law says a person may apply for asylum stating any alien who is physically present in the United States or who arrives in the United States qualifies. While it's not normal procedure from 2016 to 2021, during an influx of immigration arrivals, the federal government had a policy to turn people away just before they crossed into the U.S., therefore not hearing their asylum claims. This is no longer practiced. However, the Trump administration wants legal clarification in case a similar situation happens again. Over the weekend, the Department of Homeland Security says 130 illegal immigrants were arrested in Charlotte, North Carolina. What the DHS is calling Operation Charlotte's Web got started on Saturday. DHS Secretary Tricia McLaughlin tells Newsmax that Charlotte has 1,400 illegal immigrants in its jails, but will not turn them over to ICE.
We're talking about serial child pedophiles, murderers, rapists, gang members, people who pose real public security threats.
North Carolina Governor Josh Stein posted a message to Customs and Border Protection in response to the federal operation. Stein expresses support for removing undocumented criminals. However, he criticizes the actions of the federal agents.
We've seen masked, heavily armed agents in paramilitary garb driving unmarked cars.
The DHS reported that during an operation in Charlotte on Sunday, a U.S. citizen drove a van at law enforcement, injuring an officer. The driver was arrested and firearms were found inside the van, according to the DHS. Jason Blair, NTD News.
An illegal alien from Uzbekistan allegedly tied to a terrorist organization has been arrested. The Department of Homeland Security announced the arrest of Ankaror Borzorov. ICE says he entered the U.S. illegally in early 2023. In the department's post on X, it said Borzorov was released into the country by the Biden administration. He was issued a commercial driver's license in Pennsylvania and working as a commercial truck driver. ICE shared that Borzorov was wanted in his original country for belonging to a terrorist organization. He is accused of distributing terrorist propaganda and calling for others to join the movement. A Senate staffer accused of impersonating a lawyer for a detained immigrant has been fired. Illinois Senator Tammy Duckworth informed Immigration and Customs Enforcement about his termination in a letter. ICE has accused Edward York of claiming to be an attorney for Jose Ismael Sandoval. ICE says the 40-year-old is an illegal immigrant who has a DUI conviction and has been deported to Mexico 4 times. Senator Duckworth said neither she nor her leadership team authorized or directed York to take the actions he's accused of. Duckworth said York's employment has been terminated as of today. People looking for holiday seasonal hiring should be on the lookout for ghost jobs. Find out why applying for quality over quantity may be better for finding a job after this break.
A performance that truly matters for each and every one of us. This is what you've been waiting for. Shenyun. Get tickets now at shenyun.com.
Is deep sea fish oil really healthy? Due to pollution in the oceans, most fish contain heavy metal elements and radioactive substances. That's why it's so important to choose a pure source of omega-3. Puritan Green Vegetable Omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds, which are rich in nutrients and minerals. It effectively improves brain power and is beneficial to the heart's health. Puritan Green Vegetable Omega-3. Eat 2 a day and you'll feel brand new.
Behind every headline in Washington, there's a story that could shape your future. With the Capitol Report, you get more than just the news. You get direct access to the White House and the Capitol. Every day, we bring you exclusive interviews with lawmakers, analysts, and experts, plus in-depth coverage of the decisions being made in Washington, D.C. Broadcasting live from the nation's capital, you witness events as they unfold, straight from the heart of Washington, keeping you connected, informed, and always a step ahead.
We said we'd never give in to a meltdown.
Okay.
And we'd never babysit with a screen. We said we'd never let the toys take over.
Mariella!
Never leave the house looking, well, and never let them out of our sight. Skylar, come here. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Elmo's daddy taught him that when he has a big feeling like being frustrated, humming a song can help you feel better. Love your mind.
Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman will visit the White House tomorrow for talks with President Trump. The pair will discuss defense, energy, tech, and potentially nuclear energy. And President Trump said today he will sell F-35 advanced fighter jets to Saudi Arabia. The president seeks to cash in on a $600 billion investment pledge from the Saudis made during Trump's visit to the Middle East earlier this year. White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett said there have been mixed signals in the job market and that the labor market could be slowing down, but he's also seeing some positive signs, speaking on CNBC.
Purchasing power has gone up. So real wages, that's W divided by P for our technical people in the audience, have gone up by about $1,200 this year. So the way to think about it is that we've dug a $3,000 hole because of Biden policies, and we've gained $1,200 on the way out already, which should give you a great deal of hope for the future that the wage increases that we're seeing will continue, and even if inflation stays positive, make it so that people feel way better when they go to the grocery store and to buy a car.
Economists say a weakening labor market could prompt the Federal Reserve to gain lower interest rates again by 25 points next month. Hassett said people are incorrectly blaming President Trump for the current inflation that was inherited from the Biden administration. He says the Trump administration hasn't totally fixed it yet, but that many different measures are already underway. Hassett also said that higher purchasing power will make things more affordable despite lingering higher prices. Democratic socialist Ray Huang has officially launched her campaign for Los Angeles mayor, challenging incumbent Karen Bass. Huang's policies reflect those that progressive leaders are advancing in other major U.S. cities. NTD's Christina Corona tells us more.
I'm Reverend Ray Huang. I'm a mother, a pastor, and a community organizer. I'm running to make Los Angeles affordable and healthy, to lower our rent and deliver housing for all, to create an economy for the people, not the billionaires.
Huang, 43, is a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. She says her campaign will prioritize transitioning Los Angeles to renewable energy, providing fast and free transit, supporting small businesses, and improving public health safety through expanded mental health services. Huang's priorities are similar to issues highlighted in Democratic New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani's campaign. Huang criticized incumbent LA Mayor Karen Bass's handling of homelessness and her response to political violence over the summer.
Mayor Bass failed to deliver the housing we need and wasted taxpayer dollars with little to show for it. Voters approved millions for homelessness, but the mayor only invested in Band-Aid programs and tried to sabotage real solutions.
If elected, she would be the city's first Asian American mayor. In recent months, progressive candidates have been mounting challenges against sitting Democratic officials across the country. In Seattle, activist Katie Wilson recently won her race against Mayor Bruce Harrell. Her platform, similar to Mamdani's, focused on affordable housing, higher taxes on the wealthy, and government-supported grocery programs. LA's mayoral primary will take place on June 2nd, 2026. Christina Corona, NTD News.
A possible thaw in a recent feud. President Trump yesterday said he plans to meet with New York City's mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani. Trump says the pair will work something out.
The mayor of New York, I will say, would like to meet with us and we'll work something out. But he would like to come to Washington and meet, and we'll work something out. We want to see everything work out well for New York.
Trump has taken aim at Mamdani for months, calling him a communist. Trump predicted New York would be ruined if the Democratic Socialist was elected. He also threatened to pull federal money from the city over Mamdani's policies. In his election night victory speech, Mamdani said he wanted New York to show the country how to defeat the president. But the day after, the incoming mayor also said he was willing to work with anyone, including the president, if it could help New Yorkers. And Trump defended conservative commentator Tucker Carlson yesterday over his recent interview with right-wing activist Nick Fuentes.
We've had some great interviews with Tucker Carlson, but you can't tell him who to interview. I mean, if he wants to interview Nick Fuentes, I don't know much about him, but if he wants to do it, get the word out. Let him, people have to decide. Ultimately, people have to decide.
Fuentes appeared to appreciate Trump's sentiment, posting, "Thank you, Mr. President," along with video of his interaction with reporters. Carlson had a sit-down on his podcast last month with Fuentes that touched off a very controversy among conservatives. Fuentes has been accused of making anti-Semitic statements. It's not the first time Trump has been asked about him. 3 years ago, he came to a dinner at Mar-a-Lago along with the rapper Ye, formerly known as Kanye West. Trump at the time said he had not previously met Fuentes and knew nothing about him and didn't know he was coming with Ye. The acting chief of the Federal Emergency Management Agency will step down after hurricane season. David Richardson submitted his letter of resignation to the Department of Homeland Security. Richardson's departure comes after months of public controversy and internal frustration at FEMA. Meanwhile, Homeland Security officials are getting ready for major problems, or rather, major reforms that could fundamentally reshape FEMA's future. And people can now buy Ford vehicles on Amazon, and the pre-owned vehicles are certified by Ford dealerships. Ford made the announcement today. It said customers will be able to shop a participating dealer's inventory of used vehicles directly through Amazon. Most of the paperwork can be done online, and people can schedule a time to pick up the vehicle. The cars are backed by a Ford warranty and gives shoppers a money-back guarantee if they decide to return the vehicle within 2 weeks. The program is launching in Los Angeles, Seattle, and Dallas for now. Car makers have been trying to provide smoother online shopping for people concerned with spending hours at dealerships. The Dubai Air Show opened today with national airline Emirates ordering 65 Boeing 777 aircraft. The purchase comes as the carrier looks to expand its fleet amid record earnings and constant demand for flights. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on the deal.
Emirates is looking to expand with 65 new Boeing jets. The announcement brings the carrier's total order to 270 new 777-9s, making it Boeing's largest customer for the aircraft.
It's a long-term commitment that supports hundreds of thousands of high-value manufacturing jobs, and it reinforces our 40-year partnership with Boeing and GE.
The airline valued its most recent deal with Boeing and GE engines at $38 billion. Head of Dubai Airports Paul Griffith expects more purchases from other carriers during the show.
It will be interesting to see how many airlines announce deals today and throughout the week. We're expecting a record order book for Dubai Air Show, and I'm sure it will not be a disappointing week.
Emirates earned annual profits of $5.2 billion in the last fiscal year. Passenger numbers remain record-breaking at Dubai International Airport, the world's busiest for international travel. The airline made a $52 billion purchase of Boeing aircraft at the 2023 edition of the air show. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
A senior Japanese official is in Beijing working to bring down escalating tensions between the two countries. It comes after Japan's prime minister promised to protect Taiwan if invaded by China, to which a Chinese official responded by threatening to behead her. Stay tuned for more after this break.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
I am so glad you ladies are here. You each have your own rooms. Thank you. Get settled in. I'll call you for dinner. Adopting teen sisters, it's a lot. Girls, you're gonna be late. You want breakfast? No thanks, we're good. They're always in their own world. How'd you get there? Twice the work. Twice the surprises. Just try it. But if you think of it that way, they're also twice as fulfilling. I think you should ask her yourself.
Is it okay to call you Mom?
Of course you can.
My mom and dad were traditional Asian parents.
Now my father would go to work before I woke up in the morning, and then he would come home too tired to play with me. I tell my son, I love you every single day. Now my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. So I teased him the other day and I said, how come you never say that to me? And he said, you're too old now. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the material things, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious minute or moment.
Say bye-bye. Bye-bye.
A senior Japanese diplomat arrived in Beijing today amid heightening tensions over Taiwan. The dispute began when the new Japanese prime minister said Japan would protect Taiwan if attacked by China. A Chinese official then threatened to cut off the head of the Japanese prime minister. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley joins us. So Jack, what's the latest?
Sure, Don. So a Japanese envoy is in Beijing right now as Tokyo is working to ease tensions with the CCP. Masayaki Kanai is the Director General of Japan's Foreign Ministry for the region. He's meeting with his counterpart in Beijing. And the tensions arose between the two countries much more earlier this month when Japan's new Prime Minister, Sanai Takaichi, told lawmakers that if China invades Taiwan, it would threaten Japan's survival, and so Japan would be forced to defend Taiwan militarily. Now, following these comments by the Japanese Prime Minister, Shui Jian, a Chinese consul general in Osaka, wrote on social media in a now-deleted post this. He wrote, quote, "That filthy head that recklessly sticks itself in must be cut off without a moment's hesitation," referring to the Japanese prime minister and beheading her. A Chinese state-run media outlet then said that Japan's prime minister will have to pay a price for saying that Japan would defend Taiwan. Takaichi says she has no intention of withdrawing her remarks. Now, take a look at this next one. The U.S. ambassador to Japan at the time said this. He wrote on social media, the mask slips again. Just a few months ago, Shui Jian compared Israel with Nazi Germany. Now he threatens Prime Minister Takaichi and the Japanese people. Analysts say that this is an example of the CCP suppressing dissent, whether it's domestically or increasingly internationally. Take a look.
This is just textbook political warfare, where if they sense that, Japan or South Korea or Taiwan or even the United States is, adopting a political posture that's not conducive to the CCP, they do not hesitate to go straight to violent intimidation to shut up that dissent and political manipulation and interference. And I think this demonstrates that the CCP does not tolerate dissent, and they are happy to make violent threat and intimidations to interfere in the democracies of the United States, as well as our allies and partners.
Now, these comments by the Japanese prime minister that sparked everything breaks years of Japan's policy of what's called strategic ambiguity, which means not stating whether they would come to defend Taiwan if attacked, even though it's expected that they would. The U.S. also maintains this policy. And Japan has the largest concentration of U.S. military power outside of the U.S. Here's President Trump and Prime Minister Takaichi aboard the USS George Washington in Tokyo last month.
The cherished alliance between the United States and Japan is one of the most remarkable relationships in the entire world. Really, there's never been anything like it. Born out of the ashes of a terrible war, our bond has grown over 8 decades into the beautiful friendship that we have. It's a foundation of peace and security in the Pacific. You see it? So on behalf of all American sailors stationed in this beautiful country, let's hear it for our allies and the Japanese self-defense forces and all of the Japanese people that we love and respect.
Now, the latest in this escalation is that China is telling its citizens not to travel to Japan. The Japanese envoy today is expected to tell his Chinese counterpart that there's no change in Japan's security policy, so China shouldn't take such actions. Now, a major Chinese offensive on Taiwan would disrupt global supply chains, which rely on the Taiwan Strait for the passage of trillions of dollars of goods every year. Don?
Okay, Jack, thank you. A Chinese man from the San Francisco Bay Area was sentenced today to 46 months in federal prison for stealing trade secrets technologies used to detect and track missiles. The technologies were developed by the United States, and the man, Cheng Guang, was ordered to pay $77,000 in restitution and fined an additional $100,000. Gong stole more than 3,600 files from a Southern California company where he worked as an engineer in 2023. Law enforcement also found that this was not an isolated incident and that Gong had a long pattern of stealing technology from U.S. companies to benefit the Chinese military. Gong had been recruited by China's communist regime in 2016 to collect and pass on information in exchange for financial incentives. Ukrainian President Zelensky is in France today signing a major weapons deal. Ukraine is set to receive 100 French fighter jets, among other things. And Russia says it still hopes for a presidential meeting with the U.S. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pazdar has the latest.
France and Ukraine on Monday agreeing on a major weapons deal. Paris is set to supply Kiev with 100 fighter jets. Besides the 100 jets, Ukraine is also set to receive French radars and 8 air defense systems, each with 6 launching systems. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says each one of those launching systems means that more Ukrainian lives will be saved. Here is Zelensky commenting on the deal while in Paris on Monday.
We're setting a direction. We will together increase the industrial and technological potential of Ukraine and France. This means not only defense, this is literally the strength in life.
Monday marks Zelensky's 9th visit to Paris since Russia's invasion over 3 years ago. His talks were meant to strengthen Ukraine's defense as the country enters another winter under Russian bombardment of its energy infrastructure. French President Emmanuel Macron commented on the ongoing fighting while meeting with Zelensky on Monday.
Alors face à cette obstination,
in the face of this persistence by Russia, these unacceptable attacks against civilians and on critical energy infrastructure, we remain determined and strong-willed for peace.
The Kremlin didn't respond to Macron's statements. Neither did it comment on Monday's weapons deal between Ukraine and France. But a spokesman says that Russia still hopes for a presidential meeting with the US once the preparation is done to guarantee a productive summit.
We are all interested in these conditions occurring sooner rather than later. As soon as this preparation is completed and the conditions are in place, we hope it will take place.
President Trump, meanwhile, says that Republicans in Congress are planning to impose new sanctions on numerous countries.
On any country doing business with Russia. They may add Iran to that, as you know. I suggested it. So any country that does business with Russia will be very severely sanctioned.
Senator Lindsey Graham confirmed on Monday, saying the legislation allows President Trump to impose secondary sanctions and tariffs on countries who continue to buy cheap Russian oil and gas, propping up Putin's war machine. Arian Pastar, NTD News.
Britain is overhauling its system of asylum. The Interior Minister said the nation's generous asylum offer has created an incentive for illegal immigrants to abuse the system and is now seeking to change this. British people have mixed reactions to the announcement. NTD's international correspondent Malcolm Hudson has more.
Statement. Asylum policy, the Home Secretary.
Britain is toughening up its asylum policy as part of reforms aimed at deterring illegal immigration to the country. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood said the current asylum system is out of control and unfair.
This country will always offer sanctuary to those fleeing danger. But we must also acknowledge that the world has changed, and our asylum system has not changed with it.
She said asylum claims are falling across European nations, but they are rising in Britain because of the UK's generous asylum offer. Immigration has become one of the most important issues for voters in recent months.
The pace and scale of change has destabilised communities. It is making our country a more divided place.
She said the public rightly expected the government to control the country's borders. She announced measures including cutting the time refugees are initially granted to stay in the UK from 5 years to 2.5. Housing money and weekly allowances will no longer be guaranteed for asylum seekers. Migrant families with children whose asylum claims have failed can be deported. Failed asylum seekers will no longer be allowed to launch repeated appeals against their removal. Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch said the government's asylum plans are baby steps but positive.
It's not enough, but it is a start, and it's also a change. It's a change from her previous position in opposition of a general amnesty for illegal migrants.
However, the proposals proved unpopular with many Labour Party politicians who have held a pro-immigration stance. The reforms have been modelled on the Danish system, which is seen as one of the strictest in Europe. Denmark has reduced the number of asylum applications to the lowest number in 40 years and successfully removed 95% of rejected asylum seekers. People in London have mixed reactions about the government's toughening migration rules.
This looks like a knee-jerk reaction. I can't say where the boundary is, but I think they look like they don't know either, and that's their job, not mine.
You know, I work in the NHS, and we've got good people who can't get jobs because of the laws, and then you've got people just coming in and sponging. There's no consistency.
It's wrong. We've always been somewhere where people can feel it's safe to get to. And other European countries are taking a lot more people than we are.
I think asylum seekers come here because they know that they're going to get given accommodation, money, you know, a good life without having to work for it.
The latest government figures show over 111,000 people applied for asylum in the UK in the year to June 2025. This is the highest number for any 12-month period since current records began in 2001. A contributing factor has been the continued flow of small boats across the English Channel, with almost 40,000 people making the crossings so far in 2025. Malcolm Hudson, NTD News, UK.
People looking for holiday seasonal hiring should be on the lookout for ghost jobs. Find out more about this after the break.
Shop the Design Studio by Mathis Home for Black Friday savings on luxury designer furniture. Get factory authorized savings on all the top brands with heirloom quality pieces for every room in your house. Choose from our incredible in-stock selection or let our complimentary design staff help you create a custom look to match your own personal style for less than you ever imagined. Get unmatched luxury at the lowest prices of the year through Black Friday weekend at the Design Studio by Mathis Home.
I was a young dad of 3 amazing kids. I was finally following my dreams. Just when you feel like life is starting to come together, you get kind of hit in the face. I was born with a congenital heart defect and had open heart surgery as a kid. I was supposed to go to the heart doctor once a year, and I finally went. He listened to my heart, and I'll never forget, he sat back and he said, yeah, it's time for open heart surgery, or you risk your aorta rupturing, and that's it. I was scared out of my mind. The night before my open heart surgery, I made a goodbye video for my kids. Be strong. Take care of your mom. I love you guys.
Seeing, all the kids hug him goodbye and hoping that they were going to be able to hug him again.
I love you. But I did make it, thanks to the work of the American Heart Association. So that's why I'm asking you to join me. Please call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help get the next person trained in CPR, get the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care, as well as fund the next medical breakthrough like these heart valves that helped save my life. When you give $19 a month with your credit card, we'll send you this special t-shirt to show you're a part of our community of monthly donors.
I'm most grateful that I get to have a husband that I get to grow old with, and a husband that gets to be there for his children.
I believe without the American Heart Association, I would not be here today. If this can happen to me, it can happen to you, it can happen to anybody. Your donation can literally help save a life. Please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now to become a monthly donor.
What are toxins? How do they get into our bodies? We are constantly being exposed to toxins in our environment. I've had detox protocol programs in my clinic more than 20 years, helping countless people. MixFix is a custom formulated, full-spectrum organic detox product to achieve better health and overall function. Detoxifying your body 3 to 4 times per year may be the single most important thing you can do. Just scan the QR code and detox your body today.
The Department of Justice today filed a lawsuit against California Governor Gavin Newsom and State Attorney General Robert Bonta over California's mask ban for federal law enforcement. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi posted on X, saying, "Law enforcement officers risk their lives every day to keep Americans safe, and they do not deserve to be doxxed or harassed simply for carrying out their duties." California's anti-law enforcement policies discriminate against the federal government and are designed to create risk for our agents. These laws cannot stand. Newsom signed legislation in September banning federal law enforcement from wearing masks to protect their identity on the job. The law is set to take effect on January 1st, 2026. Job postings from companies that have no intention of hiring the applicants. They're known as ghost jobs. With the holiday hiring season approaching, NTD Sean Marshall takes a closer look at ghost jobs and how you can avoid them.
Fake job posts. A problem so bad that Congress had to get involved, and it was even given a name. Ghost jobs are listings designed to attract applicants but remain open indefinitely because the employers do not intend to fill the roles. According to MyPerfectResume.com, nearly 1 in 3 job postings go nowhere. In June 2025, 30% of job postings never resulted in hire. That's more than 2.2 million roles that never came to fruition. Talent acquisition expert Angela Tate has a few tips for spotting and avoiding ghost jobs.
A good way to find out if it is a ghost job is if there is someone that's attached to the job to actually reach out directly, like whether that's through LinkedIn or you find an email and ask, is this job still active? Are you still taking applicants? What's the time frame for hiring? You can also go to the website and see if there's something posted on the website that's also in alignment with some of these third-party sites that are posting about a job.
In September 2024, Texas Congressman Keith Self wrote a letter to the acting Secretary of Labor regarding the rise of ghost jobs. His letter mentions a concerning report from October 2023 based on surveys from 1,000 hiring managers. They gave these top reasons for posting ghost jobs: creating the impression that their company was growing, reassuring overworked staff by signaling that help was on the way, and leaving job listings open in hopes their dream candidate might eventually apply. Other reasons include planning for possible future needs, collecting market data, and creating a backup plan in case a new hire doesn't work out.
You can see how long the job has been posted. If it's something that has been posted for over 6 months, sometimes people forget to close out jobs, especially on third-party sites. And so just following up and making sure that the job is still active, or talking to people that work for the company to have like a direct in to the company and ask if you know if they're hiring. Those are just a few ways that you can touch base and see if it's an active job.
On LinkedIn, people are warning each other about job postings that appear to be ghost jobs that keep coming back from the dead. One person wrote, "Ghost job alert. Applied to this position in May 2025. Got a generic moving ahead with other candidates' email. Nothing ever materialized with that title, and now 5 months later, here it is again. Proceed with caution or with no expectations." Sean Marshall, NTD News.
Thanksgiving is in 10 days, and travelers already have a reason to be thankful. The FAA this morning ended its flight reduction order, allowing normal air traffic to resume. Here's more.
I think we're going to have a smooth, hopefully, Thanksgiving travel season.
Airlines are resuming their normal schedules in the U.S. today. The FAA says it's lifting flight restrictions that affected 40 major airports during the government shutdown. A joint statement from that agency and the Transportation Secretary cites, quote, safety trends and the steady decline of staffing trigger events in air traffic control facilities.
It does appear that air traffic controllers are working. The call-outs are minimal, and they're all getting bonuses now if they came to work. So I think the morale there is up, as well as the TSA.
Union leaders say it was hard for air traffic controllers to work full-time without pay during the shutdown.
The stresses, the pressure, the fatigue is setting in. Air traffic controllers are texting, I don't even have enough money to put gas in my car to come to work.
The news might be a relief for people flying over Thanksgiving weekend. That's the busiest air travel period of the year, according to TSA data. Experts say passengers should still check airline apps for delays or cancellations, but for more typical reasons.
I think the things we should be looking out for are weather-related incidents that could kind of throw the system out of whack, or outages. But overall, I think things are looking good.
This year, roads and airports during the Thanksgiving holiday period are expected to be busier than ever. AAA predicts nearly 82 million people will travel at least 50 miles from home during the period that runs from the Tuesday before Thanksgiving to Monday, December 1st. That's 1.6 million more travelers compared to last Thanksgiving, and a new record. AAA projects the majority of people, at least 73 million, will travel by car. 6 million U.S. travelers are expected to take domestic flights over the Thanksgiving holiday period, a slight increase from last year. Florida is the most popular domestic destination because of its weather, theme parks, and cruise ports. A World War II veteran has celebrated his 101st birthday after becoming a published songwriter. His work is a collaboration with the Nashville-based nonprofit that helps veterans through the arts. NTD Sandra Thomas has more on the tune.
Mama said goodbye to both of my brothers. One day before his 101st birthday, If Freedom Was Free was released by Big Machine Label Group. The song is the work of World War II veteran Irving Locker. Locker details the daily struggles he and other service members faced. No toilets, no sinks, no showers, and living in a foxhole.
These are the things that come out. So with the song or with this, I've been doing this now since the war. Talking about this and trying to educate people as to what the hell it was.
Red waves in Utah Beach. Locker teamed up with nonprofit Creative Vets. The Nashville-based organization works with veterans in their artistic pursuits. Locker explains the meaning behind his work.
It means the truth. So many men died, and so many men lost their legs and their arms, and they're still in hospitals. It's 81 years ago, and they're still tied up and crippled up because they had to fight. So freedom is not free.
Locker landed at Utah Beach on D-Day. He says he became more spiritual as the war raged on.
I learned to be very honest with you, I was never conscious of God until the war. But I came so close to dying that I learned to thank God and use the simple phrase, "But for the grace of God go I."
Locker worked with Texas singer-songwriter Bart Crow and duo Johnny and Heidi Bulford, who also sing on the track. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Thank you for watching NTD Newsroom. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more news. I'm Don Ma. Stay with us for NTD Evening News. That's at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.